All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to Earth Day 2023. Welcome everybody. Share this out. Right? And then weird, I just typed in this chat here and it didn't type in the chat on the Orion Coalition of Light. So I went there and typed on it, but it did come in here. But for some reason, it didn't type what I typed there or show up here. Gotta love Facebook. All right, guys, share this out, everybody. We haven't shared it to the normal places. So it's now on Orion Rising. It is on my wall, and it is in the Psychic Reading and Development group. But everybody share this out to everybody on the planet. And Denise, since you're on YouTube, please share the YouTube link as well. So we'll get some people showing up in both. Welcome, guys. It's Earth Day 2023. We just had, 420 on 420, right? 2 days later, I didn't do a show. Last year, we did a show and we were high the entire time. Didn't do any of that this year. But I know a lot of people that did. Even the newscasters seemed a little like they might have been on some edibles when they were talking about it, at least out here in California anyways. So welcome aboard, everybody. You can see that we have a few ambassadors with us already on screen currently. We'll see who else pops in whenever they pop in. People are messaging me and I'm not paying attention. I'm too busy talking.
Yeah, well, I'm sharing out right now. That's all.
Okay. I was getting notifications of that too. I always have to look. Is that a message or is that a notification to somebody I know liking it or sharing it out, right? So you guys can start watch parties in other groups if you want and add your friends and the chat will come in here. That way, I usually go live on like 3 different places. The problem with that is that Facebook, for some reason, doesn't filter all the chats into the live. And so I've begun to not do that anymore and go live in one place and then share it to all the other places from that one place. That way, all of the messages come into the StreamYard chat and I don't have to be having monitors. So I used to have 2 or 3 other monitors up to do my show. And I stopped doing that. I'm literally on just the one monitor now, instead of sitting at my desk with a computer here, and a computer there, and another one up above over here, and my cell phone. Not a joke. right? I don't have a crew in a truck that has 5-6 people sitting there with machines. I'm it. So to do all of this, I had to do all that myself. Well, I got tired of that. And so now I put it in one place and share it and ask everybody else to share it as well. And we can get it out to everybody that way. And that way all the chats come back here. So at some point as we're going, you'll see me doing the same thing everyone else is doing, looking down at my computers or cell phones, and I'll be sharing it out as well. Okay. So welcome everybody in the world.
And all the technology over here.
Around the planet to the first live broadcast from the Orion Coalition of Light. This is our actual pilot live broadcast. Just so you guys know, we haven't done this yet until now. And welcome. And our video kind of explains the coalition. We are ambassadors of the coalition. The coalition is very, very large. It's one of the larger coalitions. We were just talking, Celeste and I, off of camera about the Pleiades. That's the only coalition that's larger than the Orion Coalition. For those of you who are not ready for that kind of thing, that's okay too. But the coalition has been here for a very, very long time, and we are millions of people worldwide. Some don't realize yet that they're part of the coalition, but they are. And many people know of it, heard of it, and have channeled it. Even psychics. I've had a psychic say that to me live, and I was like, "Wow, okay, that's the first time somebody had the gall to actually say the words the Orion Coalition of Light on air." And she did, and I went, "Thank you for that." All right. So I am not the head of the council. No one you see here is in charge of the council. We are ambassadors, and there's really no one person. There's no caste system set up in the council. When you get, we were just talking about that off camera as well, how people are trying to sell this race division in 3D here, and the system is set up to where there's one person at the top and everybody filters down. That's the normal thing for this world that has been set up, and that's not the way it is outside of here. So our coalition doesn't have a president, king, queen, none of that. It's a coalition of people all working together as equals that are working to help enlighten the planet and help raise the vibration of all of y'all out there in the world all day, every day, 365. Earth Day happens to be, because there wasn't a big amount of people constantly trying to give back to the world 50 years ago now. Is that 50 years ago? About 50 years ago. Yeah, 50 years ago now, they invented Earth Day as one day for everybody to come together, because Christmas and Thanksgiving and all these other holidays around the world seemed to work to bring people together. So they decided Earth Day was a day, and it's always the same day. It's always April 22nd every single year. And it's the time when we educate people around the world in any way we can. We have resources that we'll be putting up on the screen for you as we go today. I'm going to quit talking here in a minute and let other people talk. I'm just bringing us into, because this is what I do. I won't shut up. So I'm bringing us into the show, and then I'll let everybody else get involved. And we have a special guest here who's yawning, getting ready to fall asleep because I'm not, because I'm hamming it up over here. So we want to get Cassie and her friend there involved in this conversation in the beginning. Because as you see, we're all adults, me probably being the oldest one with my gray hair. And then we have a young, up-and-coming young adult who is in the audience here, in the crowd here. And the perspective from that person is very important to us, as much as it is us trying to guide and teach the world. The perspective of the young is always a perspective, always a fresh perspective of possible ideas for all of us. So we want to get opinions as much as we can from talking to children, because they are usually know more and they're usually more in touch than adults. We become desensitized to our own spirituality, and it takes this world 20 years or so to do that to most of us. So when we get a hold of somebody like this person here who hasn't been totally corrupted by society yet, they're not having to fight as hard, and they see things a little clearer than we do. So Cassie, welcome. You guys, I'll be quiet, right? So you take it over, because I just met this young person.
Really?
Right, Willie. I just met Willie, so I don't know how comfortable Willie is with me, but you know Willie, so you start talking. We'll see if we can get Willie to give us a perspective or an analogy or anything on the world, and maybe possible ideas of what the people of the planet can do to change things and help in some way. And then, like I said, we have resources, teaching resources that we'll be throwing up too.
Yeah, so hi everybody, my name's Cassie, and this is my nephew Willie, and his nickname is Bean, so you might hear me say Bean. So if I don't say Willie and you get confused, I will try to say Willie. But yeah, I thought it would be a good idea this year. I joined last year on Earth Day, and I thought it'd be a good idea this year to be able to get, just like Leo said, we have perspectives from all different generations and all different ages, except for, Willie just turned 15 at the beginning of April. And so, I would say, what do you think, Willie, what would you say some major things, or when you say major things, what do you see with like society or like even in school? Like bullying, we were kind of talking about that.
A lot of bullying.
A lot of bullying, yeah. And what do you think would like help that?
I don't know.
You don't know? Yeah. What do you think that about, like, kids just being nice to other kids? Do you think that adults need to get more involved when it comes to bullying? Do you think they kind of step out of the way? Yeah. Adults need to get more involved. You think more like teachers and
just all like teachers, vice principal, the dean.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah. So what do you think that we could maybe do to make sure that those guys, or try to help them kind of understand where your guys' perspective is? You think maybe like getting maybe a group of you guys and saying, hey, can we have a meeting with the vice principal, maybe?
Yeah.
As a group, and say, you guys are kind of missing some of this stuff that's happening with some of our friend groups.
Yeah. My friend group gets bullied a lot.
Yeah.
He
has all sorts of friends that are from all different walks of life and all different stuff. And so, yeah, they do. I think they go through a lot of that. Would you say that's probably one of the harder things with school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does your school do anything for Earth Day?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. They don't.
I don't know. This is the first Earth Day I've been in high school.
Oh, all right.
So I don't know.
But you didn't hear of anything?
No.
I think that might be a really good idea, for, on the way of, say, way to stand up and have your voice be heard, right? So that, I think, for kids that maybe are having a hard time with, like Willie's, his situations and what he kind of feels with bullying, hey, kids, if you're out there, if you have kids that kind of go through this, talk about going to, so they don't have to do it on their own. So Willie wouldn't have to go on his own and be like, hey, hello, because they're going to not, I don't think, take them as seriously unless you kind of get like a group together and say, hey, we just want to have a conversation. And it's not about just complaining. It's about trying to find solutions.
Yeah, it's about trying to find solutions, not just telling them what's going on. Because they don't do anything if you do tell them.
Yeah.
It's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
If they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and you kind of look up to the adults of like, hey, are you guys going to do something about this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe just some conversations need to be had, like you said.
Yeah.
And I'd even be willing to go in there with you. I know your mama would, and we'd go in and support you guys, wouldn't say anything, and just let you guys do the talking. I think that's a good idea. And definitely.
If you need help putting a presentation together, I'd be happy to help anytime.
She's really good at that too. Really good at that.
Yeah. And then that way you can just.
You can even do it professionally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I
that
love
way,
that.
like,
I love
you've
that. Be
got
able to
the
have a
facts.
presentation then. Uh-huh. I
Yeah.
love that idea, Jacqueline.
Because let's be honest, Willie, you're not the only kid. There's so many kids
That's
going
exactly
through
why
it
we're
in
talking about
different
it.
degrees. Yeah, different degrees. Because one person might think it's bullying, and the other person thinks it's normal. And that's like society in some ways, that they're like, oh, but my parents treat me that way, so it's okay to treat others like that. In really actuality, it's like, no,
Right?
Yeah.
right? Even though you feel that's correct behavior, we have to be loving
Yep.
unconditionally, regardless if
I've always
they're
said bullies are bullied someplace else in their life.
exactly.
Right.
It's just
True that.
We talked about that,
just
huh?
transmuting the energy. Somebody bullied them, so they're going to try to bully somebody smaller than them. I will say we
Right.
had a big problem with that in the 90s in high school. I don't know if any of you guys were in high school in the 90s, but our friend group, it was a big thing. They established peer mediators for problems among students. So instead of involving more parents and more teachers, we were actually trained to be mediators by actual counselors. And then that way, when bullying and fights and stuff like that broke out, instead of having adults over the situation, they would actually put them in a room with one of us as a peer mediator. And then that way the kids were able to hash it out with their own ideas of how to resolve whatever the issue was. And that way it wasn't so much of like a tattling feeling towards it. I don't know if that would be a good idea, if you and your friends would be into that. I was my friends were the outcasts of the outcasts too. That was our group.
Right.
That's
Well, you see, that's
We
smart,
had a little
because
bit
then
of every-
nobody's intimidated when you do that. You don't have, like, the principal or some adult watching everything. You actually have your own peers, the kids, sitting there and dealing with that. Also instills more
The thing is, like
responsibility.
you said, about getting that training in there
Well,
to
our
be able
kids
to
know
teach
each other
some kids
better
to
than
be
the
able to do
teachers
those
know
things.
the kids for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But, to have that even ground of be able to be a mediator, even though you might be friends with these people and not as close with these people, but to be able to have that, I'm the middle guy and, I'm the mediator. And so that training, being able to be available to schools of peer training, just like you're saying, of peer training and being able, I think that's a really great idea too. And, what do you think with like I don't know, like just with like the planet and like how like the environment is going and stuff? Like, do you guys ever?
There's been a lot more trash in the oceans,
Yeah,
and lakes, and seas, and ponds.
yeah,
A lot more trash just in general.
yeah. Do a lot of like in your group of friends and stuff? Do you guys talk about that type of stuff? Like,
Not really.
no, you just it's not even yeah.
Yeah, we just talk about random stuff.
Right. But you're like, oh yeah, there's a lot of trash, but what can we do about it, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that's exactly why we have these things like that, is to be able to come up with ideas, not that you have to on the spot, like what is the solution, Willie? Why what are the answers?
When I was a kid, when I was a little boy, my father taught me that certain things are contagious. So if people are throwing trash on the ground, it becomes contagious, and other people will start throwing their trash on the ground. So he said to me, go and pick one thing up and put it in the garbage, even if it's not yours. And I got in the habit of doing that. And what happens is, when you do that and you walk over and somebody throws something on the ground, instead of trying to say something to them, because that might end up in a fight, they might be a bunch of kids, they might bully you, beat you up. You just go over and pick up what they threw on the ground. You walk over and put it in the garbage. People will see you do that.
Right.
And that example
he does that on his own without anybody else being around.
Someone else, that might affect somebody in a way that you don't know about, but by you doing that, someone else might be walking along and see garbage and pick it up and put it in there, and then someone will see them. And the next thing you know, everybody's doing that. I taught my stepson that when we were on the train, and we got on the train, and I told him, sit down and just stay there and don't get up for anybody. I want you to watch. However, no one is going to get up for anybody as the train goes. And a couple of stops, nobody was getting up. And I said, now watch, this is contagious. The next person who comes on, an old person, a pregnant person, a woman, anybody like that, I'm going to stand up and give them my seat. Watch what happens as we go forward in the train. And, as the train moves to the next stop and the next stop. And I did that. I got up And I said, no, please, I'm young enough. Come sit down. The lady went and sat down. And at the next stop, someone else got on. My son got up and did the same thing. And from that point on, people that were already there and didn't get up for 2 or 3 stops started standing up and giving their seat to somebody else. But it took one person to do something first to get other people to then get out of their mindset of, I'm at my day, I'm on my way to work, I'm on my phone, I'm not paying attention, to, oh, yeah, I should get up and let that person have my seat. I can stand, who cares? I'm just on my phone. But people get so wrapped up in the world that they don't think about that, and then they get used to doing things because it's contagious the other way. And tossing garbage on the ground is one of those things. So literally, the one thing you can do to change possibly many people around you is literally just when you're walking along and you see something, pick it up and throw it in the garbage. And then don't even say anything to anybody. Unless somebody says, why'd you do that? Because it was on the ground, it should be garbage. And that changes. That's the hashtag be the change. Mahatma Gandhi, a great philosopher who led an entire nation to freedom, coined that phrase, be the change you want to see in the world. He said that first, and now we have hashtag be the change because of Mahatma Gandhi saying that 75 years ago when he led an entire nation peacefully with no war to their freedom.
Yes, absolutely. And it is. It's just like you said, one person takes one person and contagious works both ways. Absolutely. I think another thing, and not to totally turn this up, but I did want to bring up to Willie was and about stuff, and it has to do with a lot of my passion. And one of the things, and Leonard will have a banner for this as we talk about it. But
yeah, just let me know when you put it up. I'll put it up.
Okay, so mental health and like with counseling and stuff like that. A lot of I know. You've dealt with depression, right? I've dealt with depression.
Yeah.
Being really low, having a hard time. Do you think that there's enough like resources for you guys, like or places that you feel comfortable when you start feeling that? Obviously you try to get a hold of your friends, but is there other resources or things that like you guys can just find on your own? Is that hard to do?
Yeah. Usually I would just talk to my friends.
Right. But sometimes there is an adult that you do need to talk to, and to be able to help you with some tools, like your mom or like me.
Yeah.
That we help give you different tools. And one of the reasons that we do like to talk about mental health a lot is because 22 months ago, my only sibling, my younger brother, committed suicide. And it'll be 2 years up June 29th. And Willie and Drew are birthday buddies. They April 3rd is their birthday. And so we had a cupcake war this year in order to celebrate Drew and Willie's birthday.
I saw that.
Yeah, I sent Leonard the pictures and the video.
I saw that.
And so we did that to celebrate Drew. But we do like to bring up the suicide hotline and talk about that, especially for men, that it is hard to be able to go out and start getting in touch with your emotions. And we are seeing as people are waking up more that people are starting to talk more and feel it, and I guess I'm specifically talking about more men because of my brother and, and even, Willie as a man, as a male of not wanting to admit, when things are hard or not wanting to talk about it or keeping it all in or thinking you're alone. And not only that there's resources out there, but how I found my way back to myself with my brother passing. I did not want to continue living. I didn't know how. And it made me fight for my life. And I started using tools that I had been taught throughout my life, but talking about, breathing exercises, about grounding, about meditation, about it's okay to be able to grieve, that that grief is, when you lose someone, that doesn't go away. But I can tell you from the other side, we can tell you that you can still move forward and continue on, even when you've had this big of a loss like we have. And that there is help out there, and there are plenty of people, but to remind yourself that it's just a temporary feeling. And I've gone through it multiple times throughout my life, and myself have felt suicidal. Um, but that it is a temporary feeling, and that you can get out of it by helping yourself. And there's people out there that are always willing to help, whether it be a friend that you don't even think might not, but if you reach out to them, or it may be a total stranger. But and that's why we do befriend, we are friendly with strangers and say hi to people, and gas station, and always being friendly and saying hi, because you never know what someone else is going through, even when they are maybe being bullies or being mean or cruel. Just like Celeste said, bullies have been bullied. That's where they get it from.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And or
Hurt people
however
hurt
they,
people.
Right, exactly. And so reminding yourself when people do things to you personally, that they are going through their own things, and more than likely it has nothing to even do with you. And to just have
Right.
compassion for that person, that they are so angry in life. It's a guy who, cut you off and then flips you off, as they're driving by you, and they cut you off, and you're like, wait a minute. Obviously that person.
What did I do? Yeah. What did I do? Yeah.
Right. And it's okay to just be like, and be able to, say, hey, that person is going through their
We
own
call
thing.
that
I'm gonna
breaking the
have
chain.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You're breaking that chain of not continuing that anger. You're saying, I'm making a different choice. I'm choosing to not let that bother me. And yes, it takes practice. It does not happen overnight. It takes practice to be able to stop and
It
not,
does.
that anger up. And even driving here right now, we're in Whitefish, Montana. We decided to make a weekend out of it, and
Right.
for a birthday present for Willie. And so we're in a hotel. We're overlooking the river, staring at a mountain, a ski hill, and in the gorgeous, just Rocky Mountains right now. And we already live in a beautiful place, anyways, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and yeah, Post Falls, technically, right? Yeah, but Whitefish is beautiful, and so we're gonna go out on some nature hikes and go out along the river, and just check things out. But like I said, my whole point of that, so many of us go through hard times, and things that you look at another person and you say, I don't know how that person survived it, and it's
Right.
because they made a choice to do that. They made that choice to be able to continue on, to be able to still move forward. And just like with my brother, as much as I miss him, and every single day, as much as we miss him, we know Drew is around us all the time. Does he sends signs all the time, and really obvious ones. And so even today and yesterday on our drive over here, Drew was sending signs like he was excited for us, and so we're very lucky and very blessed that we do get to hear from Drew, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I even caught Willie lying one time, because Drew told me what Willie was saying and wasn't the truth. And I was like, oh no, you can't lie to me now, because now I don't.
Right.
But anyways, we joke about that, because I was like, oh, your uncle's going to rat you out. Sorry about that.
Right.
But we have a close relationship anyways. So it's not like, but like I said, we know how blessed we are, but we know that Drew's around us all the time. We know that he helps us. And so right there, that's talking about, about mental health, talking about suicide, talking about being kind to others, about breaking the chains of, and even the chains of grief. Everybody, my husband and I are part of a group It's the survivors of suicide loss, and we go once a month. And these are the people that really understand that. And sometimes these people have no one else to talk to. Suicide, talking about it or is so taboo that, I mean, when it happened, I had dear friends that would not, were afraid because you don't know what to say. And so they just step away and they don't say anything. And it's okay to talk about it. It's okay, with grief, to be able to bring those things up with people. And even with suicide, obviously each person is different. So everybody has their own timeline of when they're ready, but don't be afraid of people who are grieving or of the word suicide, because it does happen. And that's our goal, is that it doesn't happen. And that's what we work towards. But if it does, don't make it a dirty word that no one brings up that person's name anymore. No one,
Right.
you can talk about anybody else, how they died, and we can
I
still
didn't
bring up
expect
those
this to be the
things.
big topic, but yeah, it affected my family a lot, and that's always been a big thing. Is it's don't stop talking about that person like they're not anymore. My
Yeah.
cousin passed when I was a teenager, and I was considered the weird kid because I would walk to the 7-Eleven next to the cemetery she was at and get a soda and Skittles and go and sit at her tombstone every day. And yeah, it was nobody else would talk about it but her mother. So she would, whenever I was there, she'd end up popping up. So it was always that one thing that me and her still had. It was one of the only people that would talk to her about her, like she was still there, like she was still around, like those memories are okay to mention. And it's affected my family a lot throughout the years. I've been hospitalized twice for suicidal thoughts. I think that's a big stigma that shouldn't be looked away from. Like, people shouldn't be embarrassed if that's happened to you. If you need help, don't be afraid to call a hotline. Don't be afraid to go to the hospital and say you need help. Like, I mean, if you need help, go get help. And the stigma of getting help shouldn't be, it shouldn't be something to be afraid of. Because it
Put it
would
this
save
way.
lives if people weren't scared.
We don't have to not talk about it. Like, for me personally, I've experienced so many different degrees of it because of different things. For my own experience, others. And the more that we become open to it and talk about it freely, then it doesn't become as if people are sick in their thoughts anymore. Because so many of us are consciously waking up, having no idea what's outside of ourselves because we've been so separated or detached because we thought otherwise. Meanwhile, if we just connect with one another, embrace one another, and reassure one another that whatever you're going through, that there is support there for you. Always. Always. Even if it doesn't seem like that. And I've learned personally that it wasn't until I conceded to my innermost self that inner being, so to say, was like, okay, connect with the family of light.
Right.
When I have those moments in my brain, like, I don't have so much the suicidal stuff anymore. It was crazy for a while there.
Yeah.
It's more of a freeing energy.
Yes.
And I find we all go through different degrees of it, and it's whether or not we're willing to reach out for support. And now, like, when my brain starts going super active, I'll just pick up the phone and just talk to someone for hours, even if it makes sense or it doesn't make sense.
Yep.
It makes sense in the end. And I'm like, wow, so much
Yeah.
better, right? Like,
Yeah,
Right.
and it is that self-care of needing to talk to people. And I think that's another big thing to bring up is self-care. People is eating right, eating better, is moving your body, is getting enough sleep, calming your brain down from all the stressors and all the technology that we have. Step out into nature, ground your, get barefoot on the ground, take a walk, meditation, quieting your brain away from all the stress and, like I said, technology and all that. If it's just, listening to a guided meditation. I do a lot of like YouTubes, and depending on how I'm feeling, I'll kind of look through and I'll be like, oh, I'm looking for this today, and I'll try a new one. But every day I make sure, and that's kind of how I started to pull myself out, was every day I would just do a meditation. Even in the beginning, when my brother first passed, like if it was just 10 minutes that I just tried to, align my chakras and just did a chakra 10-minute short, it started giving me that space. of not having to think about all the trauma when anxiety was all going on from every second of my waking moments. And I just started really slowly with small things. And then I started more self-care and I started more self-care. And the more that I've done, I've been able to find myself again. And of course, I've gone through, spiritual awakenings and lots of downloads and all sorts of visions and all sorts of stuff since then. But even before that, but more so since. But it's, yeah, I was just looking at Denise's comments. Some of the best people I talk to are people I've never met personally, but know exactly what I'm coming through, or where maybe, yeah. And yeah, being you can find people to be able to just to talk to, of getting it off your chest, and that is a good way, whether it be a friend or a professional, or calling a hotline and it's someone that a stranger. Strangers can even sometimes be even more compassionate than even some of our friends. Yeah, right, exactly. Go through readings or whatever. Have someone. We have a friend.
You'd be surprised how many people I get that's all they really want from me.
Right.
They don't even want a tarot reading. They just want somebody to talk to.
Right.
Yeah. And that goes to like what Virginia's asking here about, depending on how old you are. Her and I are the same age, so I'm in my mid-50s. So her and I are in our mid-50s. And when we were younger, that was just, you didn't talk about that. So the whole generation from my generation past, you didn't talk about your mental health in any way. And that's why she's asking the question for the younger generation has emerged in mental health and being diagnosed with mental health issues. Why do you think that this has changed and has taken place, pros and cons, in our society around the world? I think, and then we'll go around to everybody, I think that there are some people on the planet that know that. Like we know, we didn't have that. And there was no outlet for us. And so we're trying to make that change, right? There was also a question there for Willie. We'll get back to that, right? I put it up there and I watched his eyes go, oh my God, they're asking me questions. We'll get back to that after we cover this. But there was no outlet for our generation and prior to that. And I think our generation was trying to teach the generation behind us that maybe, we need to address that. And so I think some of that, this is my opinion, I think that some of that has played forward. I think there's pros and cons to that, because I think there's over diagnosis of, everybody's got mental issues and everybody is autistic. In our generation, it was everybody's got ADD and ADHD. And as it turned out, that's not really truly what it is. There's this spiritual thing that's happening to people, and a progression that is involved in that. That's my opinion. I think that there is more awareness, because people are like myself are saying, look, we had all this happen to us and there was nothing for us. And so now on Earth Day, I think that's kind of why we're addressing that now. Let's go around to Celeste. Let's go to you first. Then we'll go to Cassie, and then we'll go over to Jacqueline. Have you guys say the same thing, and then get Willie involved in that. So Willie, you can think about it, what you think about that, and then when you're ready, just raise your hand, and then you go ahead and tell what you think is why it's more prevalent. There's more people trying to discuss and deal with mental issues now than before. And I know you're only 15, but I'm sure you've seen changes. Just in your 15 years, that there are things used to be different, and now they're either better or worse or both. So think about that. So Celeste, you go. Tell me what you think about that, and I'll put the question back up.
I would say you were in high school in like what the mid to late 70s, Leo.
80s, yeah.
Yeah. So by the 90s generation kids, I call us the magic pill kids. Because our parents, when we hit puberty, like mental health was like, it became this thing, but it was like this thing they were trying to hide at the same time. So like whenever a kid hit puberty, if they acted anyway, like normal kids do when they're going through adolescence, they drugged us. They threw us on. I mean, I didn't know a single kid in my class that wasn't on Prozac, Zoloft, Effexor, some sort of ADHD medication, Adderall, Ritalin, Klonopin. Like we were just dosed. I mean, from the minute we hit puberty, as soon as we started having any type of hormones, like all our parents try to dim us down. because that's what the doctors were saying then. Even then, it wasn't into like going to therapy and talking things out. It was, that's why I call us the magic pill generation. And a lot of us, I feel personally, the reason we never mellowed out was because they messed with our brains, and they were like, it was all about serotonin, and they chemically altered us while we were still developing. And that's why you see so many people in there between 30 and 45 right now that still suffer with a lot of these issues. And it's because our brain never learned how to balance itself out the way it normally would have if you would have just let our brains develop through our hormonal changes and not like try to dose it away and numb us down and dumb us down so that we would be good little students. But I know that was a big thing in my high school. We actually, and also with the introduction with all those pills caused those rates to go up. We had a kid in our school from 6th grade to 12th grade. We lost one every year to something like that. It was crazy. We lost 6 kids in 6 years over that. Right. And I think a lot of it had to do because of a lot of them messing with our heads as well. And we dealt with bullying in the 90s too, because we went through this weird fashion thing that you guys are doing.
Yeah, well, and too with serotonin and stuff, when you are replacing the serotonin, then your brain then decides not to make its own serotonin levels if you're having it produced. Just like a pain medication, your body stops making its own pain medication when you're taking like narcotics and like that type of medication. It's the same thing that our brains, exactly like you were talking about, Celeste, that especially like in puberty, and that's what we were going to bring up with Willie about diagnoses and stuff, is that at a young age, Willie was diagnosed with ADD
and ADHD.
Yeah. And so from a young age, he's been on medication to, kind of keep him down to try to focus. And I brought it up like a year ago to him. I read a study that was done on children from like the 80s and 90s that had been started on different medications for ADHD or ADD. And this guy did a study and went back and asked these people how many of them were actually having spiritual experiences, and they couldn't focus. And that's why they were having a hard time, was because a lot of information was coming in. So they're having a lot of different thoughts coming in, like Willie's having a lot of different thoughts coming in, and they're saying, no, pay attention to this number right here on this board. And because he's not able to do that, it's like, oh, medication. And so what's your kind of point of view on that with do you think it helps you? Do you think that
it does help me? Because if I don't take it, I get distracted by everything. Like everything in the room. Even if I see like a little dust particle, I get distracted, and then I can't do my schoolwork.
Do you think a lot of kids have been like, do you notice that a lot of kids have been diagnosed with ADHD or ADHD, ADD or ADHD? Yeah. I know a lot more since my generation.
But there's a reason for that.
What's that, Peter?
There's a perfect reason for that.
Yeah.
He's an indigo. All indigo children, indigo and star children, will get diagnosed as ADHD and ADD and all that nonsense. It's just to break the kid down that he doesn't get to his spiritual path that quickly. That's all they're doing, suppressing him.
Well, and that's why I told him last year, I said, Willie, it's actually a lot of spiritual stuff, because he picks up stuff and he, and I've been working with them and whatnot, but it's it's being able to teach him other ways to be able to concentrate.
Here's a story I want to tell you. This I haven't actually. I don't think I've ever talked about this on air. And when I was working the last job that I had before I retired, my boss's son came to work with me during the summer when he was off of school, and he liked it because he could get a physical workout. And by the time he went back to school, he had all these muscles, And because we were working together every day, I started talking to him, and he was telling me that he was having mental problems. And that he couldn't concentrate, he couldn't sleep because he always saw this child, this kid that would manifest and would run around and run past the doorway and look at him from his closet. And then when you go to look for him, he wouldn't be there. And he was always there. And his parents were really worried, and they went and had him looked at, and they were like, well, we got to put him on this medication. And I said, you know what, how about we try something different? And he said, it's driving me crazy. I don't know what to do. And I said, how about I teach you how to meditate and see if that helps in any way, because it'll put you in a higher state. And then I think that what's happening is it's different diagnosis. There was a time I was learning to be a psychologist, which I didn't end up doing, so I don't have the certificate, but I was going to school for that. And I thought, you know what, it is possible, getting back to what Peter was saying and what Cassie was saying, that it is something that's manifesting in your conscious or subconscious that has to do with the spiritual thinking that's going on with you, and they're diagnosing it some other way. So I taught him how to meditate. And I said, whenever this happens and the little boy appears, start to meditate and see if it helps. If it doesn't help, then I'm wrong. And he said, you know what, you're right. And so he said, how do I do this? So I worked with him at lunch every day for the whole summer and taught him how to meditate. And do you know that that was 15 years ago? And as far as I know, he's never had that problem again. They were going to put him on medication and said that he was schizophrenic, and they were going to put on all these psychedelic drugs. And I taught him to meditate, and it's changed his entire being, because now he's become spiritual, and he realized that it was his downloads he was getting, and he was ignoring all that and didn't understand what was happening to him. And it was his brain, like having a dream, was having the dream in real life, trying to get his attention, and he wasn't understanding what was happening to him. So it plays right along with what you were saying and what Peter was saying. And that's a true story that really happened. And my boss was like, what did you teach him? I'm like, I taught him how to meditate. That's all. That's all I did. And she's like, that's it. And I'm like, no, I didn't tell him to take any drugs. I didn't tell him to do anything crazy. Meditate. And that's all he did.
Exactly. Quiet the mind. But the thing is, Leonard, none of us here can control when we get the messages in. None. We can't control that messages. So if you're talking to me and I get the messages, I'm in another world. Does that make, in medical terms, then I'm ADHD and ADD and all that nonsense? Yeah. When in fact, I'm just in another place. Doesn't make, people can't see that. I get most of my stuff when I'm driving. It's the craziest thing ever. When I get behind the wheel, you need to start worrying. Then the messages, they hammer me with the messages.
Right.
They haven't made an accident, nothing like that. But I'm saying we haven't got control on what is coming in.
Yeah.
Right.
None of us have it.
How it comes in, when it comes in, so then, where you're at and what you're doing when it starts to come in, you have no control over that.
Right.
Just happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's on their terms.
But in medical
I will say,
terms,
don't feel bad about taking some medication, though, Willie. My son Billy's 15 and he has autism, and he does take some medication to help him focus in school and stuff like that. And you know what? It's a crutch that some kids do need in order to get through that society programming. Like, school is important in the fact that it is giving you this blueprint work of how society works, and that does help you get through it. I mean, nobody wants to, end up graduating bottom of their class or flunking out. So I don't see the problem in it in that sense. It's just understand that there's not actually anything wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? It's just to help you in this one little area. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's exactly autistic.
Exactly.
And he's been on medication his whole life.
With you.
Yeah.
You learn differently. You need a little help with focus. But I do think that a lot of people that are diagnosed with that actually have spiritual stuff like happening with them. And like I said, that research thing that I had looked at was it was like 85%
all the indigo
of
children.
People that they polled and went back on that had been diagnosed with ADD and ADHD specifically. That's what he went back and looked at, and it was 25 years back. And he talked to these people, and they all had these experiences. It was like 85% of these kids that had been diagnosed, it was all spiritual stuff that they were getting.
Even the newer generations that are still coming, like Generation Alpha, they're already connected into this crystalline energy. They're the embodiment of it. And that's the gift, is like, no matter what age we are, whatever tools we need in that moment is really going to be able to help us.
Yeah.
regardless of what that is. Because when I was diagnosed, I was like, oh, this makes total sense. And then when I got to the core of it, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. My brain just is like ting all the time. And like you said, meditation and the conscious breathing and the connection, then it just kind of allows me to be still in that moment. That no mind and just be in receiving mode. And sometimes you're like mind blown. Like I was driving today in like white, like rain, and my brain's just like, what? And I'm like, this it's fun because you just get to experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what the fuck
Celeste was saying, well, Willie, I know she's talking to you at the time. But like Celeste was saying, know that you're okay because we actually all went through what you're going through now. Adults just don't normally talk about it because we were the same. Look at these stories when we were younger. Look what was happening. Celeste, literally in the 90s, everybody was on medication. In the 80s, we were too, but we were diagnosed with something different, right? And so it was and then the 2000s was something different. And so we all have this. So there is downsides to people looking and saying, oh, we have mental disorders. But the upside is we're talking about it. We're thinking about it. We're actually trying to do something to help ourselves. Because the truth is, if you're not aware of what's happening, all of us end up, if you were to say, well, what exactly is the diagnosis? Then you're going to go, well, geez, everybody's got ADHD. Everybody's autistic. Wait a minute, what? Because we all have issues, then that's normal for humans. It's only when we try to say, well, that's not normal, so therefore it's a problem. But wait, if everyone has it, that's what's called common sense. It's only common when everyone has it. So if everybody's being diagnosed as ADHD, isn't that normal for humans? Because everyone's got it.
Different degrees.
Yeah.
Different points.
The same thing with,
I don't think kids are designed to sit for 9 hours a day anyway.
Like I was saying, being autistic. That's just the new version of ADHD. You're either ADHD, ADD, or you're autistic, but it's really the same thing, and everyone has it. I even had a psychic say to me, are you autistic? And I was like, by today's standards, yeah, I guess I would be considered autistic by what they say everyone is autistic. Everyone, in some way, to some level, is ADHD and autistic. I talk too much. I talk too fast. Right, my brain thinks super fast, and Willie, like you, I'll get. Oh, what was that?
Really not. He's like, yeah.
always 3 steps ahead.
What's that? Say that, Pete.
Say you always 3 steps ahead. That brain clicks. It's always 3 clicks ahead.
Yeah,
I've got exactly.
You mentioned that earlier. It's like you can't stay on the right timeline. You're always
especially if you
slightly off on time.
You pick up what they're going to say before they say it, and then the brain is running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know what the right time is. I've never experienced it in my life. I'm always a bit behind, always a bit forward, but can't do the right time.
See, I had the same experience back then. Virginia and I are at the same age, and we went to school in the same city, same region, same county, same city. And they wouldn't. I'm left-handed. They wouldn't let me be left-handed, just like her. She started out left-handed. They wouldn't let her. So back when we were kids, they would stop you from depending on what handed you were. Then no, my brother, same thing. When I was a kid, they tied down my left hand. My brother, they did the same thing. They did the same thing to Virginia. Now they've learned, and they don't do that to you guys, as far as I know. That's not happening to anybody in your school. I mean, if it is still happening, Willie, let us know if they're tying down some kid's hand.
Oh no, now left-handed people are known for being artists and more creative.
Yeah.
There's other ways about it now.
Yeah. Right. So there's this evolution that has been happening, and it's good to, I think, talk about it, because when your generation sees, we go through the same thing. So don't feel bad if somebody's saying, well, you got ADHD and you know that taking the medication isn't helping you right now. As you get older, you're going to find that there's going to be a time when you may not need that anymore, because you're going to change. And then you're going to realize that you're just normal like all the rest of us. There's nothing wrong. They just are giving you medication right now because you haven't learned how to stay focused yet. We all had to learn that.
Yeah.
And it comes in stages.
We've all been on with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were talking about movies last night. A good movie for that is the Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. When his friends telling him that all his problems, the reason you can't read this is because you're meant to read this way, and the reason you can't do that is because you're supposed to be for this, and the reason you have ADHD is because you have battle, instincts and things like that. And it's all very true. It's all these ingrained things inside of you that's telling you what you're not supposed to be sitting for that long during the day. You're supposed to be, jumping up and running around and doing stuff like that. And that's totally normal to want to do those things and to be distracted. Right. I tell my son all the time that one day the way your brain is just wired differently than everybody else's, and one day that's going to be your superpower. It's just for right now, you just got to get through school.
Oh, yes. That's like you tell Willie, I'm like, that's you being different and thinking different. Like that is part of like your giant heart and who you are. And that is a superpower. I mean, Willie has the biggest heart. He won't get as upset if someone bullies him, but if someone bullies one of his friends, that's when it's like, and Willie has had to learn, like, hey, I can't do this, at a school or whatever, say this or that. But again, his heart is so big, and that part of, he is open to every type of kid and it doesn't matter who you are. And, just like I said, that's I've told him that's one of his superpowers is his giant heart and his,
But the main thing is self-love. If he learns self-love, all the rest can go fuck themselves. It doesn't matter. It's pointless.
Right.
If he has self-love and he knows himself, who cares a fuck about the rest? Doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But he has to love himself first, and that's still the missing thing. That's what is still not doing. Is the self-love isn't there. The moment the self-love is there, then all the rest goes away. Because they can't touch him, they can't harm him. If he's at peace with himself, to hell with the rest. It's actually simple. It's not that easy loving yourself, but you have to do it. It's not optional. Just one of those things you have to do.
I am playing music in the background, so if it seems to be too loud for you guys, let me know. I'll turn it down. I'm actually starting to play music with frequency in the background. And in the frequencies that I'll be playing that you may or may not notice, because I can turn it up.
I can hear
down. I'm actually playing right now I'm playing three different I'm playing 639, 369 and 587, which are all the 369 energies in the background right now. So I'm doing that on purpose because people are going to be hearing this, whether you get it or not. It's going to be in your it's going to actually resonate in your head. And I did that on purpose because we were talking about that. I've had all these queued up. I got a bunch of them that are, there's music overlaying, but those would be a tone. You might hear a single tone if you really concentrate. And that single tone is playing a certain vibration. And then the music is methodically going between the tones as well. All right. So if it's too loud, let me know. I'll turn it down. And if it's not loud enough, let me know and I'll turn it up.
So self-love, as you guys were saying, is the greatest gift we can give ourselves.
369, the keys to the universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a must,
Absolutely.
actually.
I agree, Rick. Yeah.
Indeed.
And
Yes. But yeah, self-love, and that's where I was just even saying to Willie is like, hey, man, I'm just turned 45 at the end of March, and I'm still learning, I'm so much better now, and I really do love myself for the first time in, probably since I was maybe 13. Actually, I know exactly when I was 13, like when everything all just kind of crashed. But before that, I did have a lot of self-love, but as an adult, I had to work on that and really start loving myself and loving who I am. No matter what I weighed or what I look like in
the power within
about me, or still loving myself, and so we'll keep working on that. We'll get there, huh? It's a process, just like Jacqueline said. Yeah. But I think we probably have had, if anybody has any questions for Willie or anything, I think he's probably been on an hour. So
there actually was a question from him. I popped it up on the screen earlier. Let me find it again. Here it is. So Willie, if it's one thing all of us can learn from the show today for your generation, what do you think that would be that you could hope that we would get out of this from your perspective? I know that's putting you on the spot, but think about it.
You know, so like if there's one thing out of this like whole show that you would like to be able to say from like your
to the world, something that your generation, you talk to all your friends, you're hanging out with your friends, and you guys know that there's something wrong in the world. No pressure. No pressure. What would your generation want to tell this generation on the planet right now?
None at all.
No pressure. We can move on. You can think about it when you're ready to let us know if you have something. And if you don't, that's okay too. You know, whatever is fine.
Not going to hurt our feelings.
Yeah.
Can you think of anything right now? No.
We threw it right at him. He's like, wait a minute. Oh my God, what? You think about that, Willie, and if you think of something, you know, because you're hanging out with all your friends, you're talking to people when you're in school, and so you guys know what you're talking about. You guys know what you might want. If I could just tell the world something that all of us younger generation is thinking, you know, well, what would that be? What would be the message to the world that you could tell? Think about that. So,
oh wait, he has something to say.
Oh, okay, good.
Probably that people can be like, or people are like more kind than they used to be, because generations have changed a lot.
You think that we're getting kinder?
Yeah.
Yeah, but just keep being more kind and keep just remembering to be kind.
Yeah.
That's good.
And pick up the earth.
Pick up your trash.
Yeah.
No, he's right. Absolutely.
Don't litter.
Absolutely.
I'm so with you on that.
So with you on that.
We picked up so many cigarette butts from outside our room.
Yeah, we picked them up and we both threw them away and cleaned them all
See,
up.
it's those little acts, really, when you do that, one little thing like that, you don't realize sometimes how much that would change someone else who sees you do it. So just the action of doing that selflessly and not being concerned, is anybody watching me? Who cares? But somebody will see you when you do that somewhere in your life. And if one person does it, the dynamic is, the actual statistic is, only 10% of the population of humans will do something, but everyone else, when they see it, they'll follow, and that starts to get more and more and more people. But it always takes that 10%, someone in that 10%, you have to be that. That's why be the change. That's why Mahatma Gandhi said that. Because sometimes it's that little thing. You don't have to lead the world. We don't have to speak to the whole world. But if you pick up one piece of trash, like you said, and it's not yours, someone else threw it down, you put it in the garbage and make sure it ends up in the garbage, someone's going to see that and they're going to pick up someone else's garbage. It's not going to be everybody, but it'll be one more person and then one more person.
And it's important to note that if you see the person throw it on the ground and you just walk up behind them and pick it up and put it in the trash can, not saying anything to that person is going to make 10 times more of an impact on them than getting in an argument with them. If you get them into an argument, then they're going to immediately go for bullying and picking on you and finding something to pick you apart with. Where if you just pick it up and put it in the trash, you've said everything that you needed to say with one swift action, and that person knows that they look bad for throwing something on the ground, and you look like the better person for just picking it up. And they are aware that everyone else who witnessed what just happened saw it that way. And as long as you don't engage in an argument over it, you still go down as the person who did the right thing, and they go down as the person who did the wrong thing. And there's no way they can flip it or spin it or play any of those narcissistic games where they can make it somehow you caused this altercation and now you're in trouble at the principal. Nope. Right. And like I said, and then it'll make other people do the same thing. It's very impactful to do actions without needing any of that audience. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to do something and you're going to be kind, you don't need to be recording yourself on your phone to prove that you're a kind person. You should just do it.
Never feed the monster. Never feed the monster.
Never feed the monster.
Feed the monster.
Carry on, don't feed the monster.
Don't feed the trolls.
Yep. Don't feed the trolls. Yep. No, agreed.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to take a little break, and I'm going to let Willie go. Are you good?
Willie, thank you, Willie, for being here. I know you're not used to doing this. I don't think you've ever been live before, so you did very well. Being there, you did very well, even though you're the only one of your age group that was here today, and all of us, of course, were putting a spotlight on you. So you handled that very well. You're very astute. Don't let anybody fool you into thinking that you're not. You're a very smart kid. And I want to thank you for everybody, and I'm sure everybody else will say thank you as well, but I wanted to thank you for coming on here, because that took a lot. For you to come on here and be on this live to the world is not an easy thing, and you did very good. So thank you.
A star in the making.
Willie. It was nice meeting you.
Okay. It was nice meeting y'all.
Cheers. Do enjoy.
What was that, Peter?
If it gets hot on my side, let me know.
I thought Peter said
I
something.
say he's a star in the
take a
making.
break. He is.
Yeah, he is. Peter's in South Africa, so he might have a little bit of a lag getting the
young man.
North America.
Yeah. Yep. We'll talk about that later, brother. But yeah.
It's probably around two.
I've seen it.
Go free sweating.
Yeah, Peter's lagging a little bit.
Around 10,000 miles away from you guys.
Right.
I reckon probably
right.
10. Yeah, it's around there. It's about.
He said if I'd known we were going to have kids, I'd have brought mine over.
Just a few thousand, nothing much. I've actually been in Argentina, and that flight, Argentinian flight was 18 hours.
Right. I know that's like
welcome to join.
But I'll be back. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Yep.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Right. Okay. So, some people might be saying, what's that got to do with Earth Day? All of that has to do with Earth Day, because Earth Day's health is not just the planet, it is us. Because if you saw that video that I put out, with the kid with the holding the hands, and the Earth was literally painted on his hands, right? The Earth is in our hands. It literally is. I'm looking at the chat while I'm talking instead of the camera. Literally, our health reflects the Earth's health, and Earth's health reflects our health. Do you see? We are all connected, and we have to realize that. And that's part of what we're trying to show on Earth Day, not just give back to the Earth. But the truth is, if you're going to give back to the Earth, we have to do it by giving back to ourselves at the same time and healing ourselves so that we can then heal the Earth. You can't love the Earth if you don't love yourself. And if we're not doing anything in our cities and we're trashing our cities, how are we supposed to be taking care of the planet when we don't have the right tools in our own mindset for our own houses we live in, or our own cities we live in, or our own countries, right?
Again, everything starts with yourself.
Some mental health on the areas of how you keep your house.
Right. Sorry, guys. I just threw that out there. And
right.
Both started
they talk about that a lot. Sorry. I was saying they talk about that a lot in psychology, and especially, like, I don't know if you ever watched the show Hoarders or whatever. One of the psychologists in there, they're like, the clutter in the corner of your house and like the garbage around your house, that's all emotional baggage that you're carrying around. Well, when society-wise, as we start to deteriorate mental health-wise as a collective, that garbage spills out. It spills out into the street. When you start hitting to, your car is messy, when you dump cigarette butts on the floor, when you're like, what I'm saying? That all says something about you, that you're just garbage around you everywhere you go. You're not cleaning up after yourself because you don't care about yourself, and because you don't care about yourself, you don't care about the earth either.
Right.
It's like, I have to suffer, so I'll trash it so everybody can suffer with me. And that's how you raise your frequency and caring. And when you do things, like he said, when you just pick up something that somebody else throws on the floor, it shows you that you not only care about the earth, but you also care about the other people with you on this earth by just picking that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Peter, I know I interrupted you. You could try again.
No. That same rubbish you're talking about is negative energy. By keeping that rubbish in your house, you're keeping negative energy in your house. It helps nothing clean your house and do all this energy work and stuff. If you've got a lot of rubbish in your house, it's dead, stagnant energy in your house. It's rubbish is negative energy. Get it out, clean your house, things are better. But people don't think in those terms. Everything that lies around is negative energy. Same with the earth. We throw the rubbish out, it's negative energy we're putting out, nothing else.
Right.
That's how I look at it. All rubbish is negative energy.
That's beautiful music. Knights Templars chanting now. Sorry, that's literally Templar Knights, Gregorian Templar Knights chanting, and they're actually singing. Yeah, I'll probably have to turn that one down a little bit, right? That one's a little loud.
Yeah, I would say, it's kind of funny. It's been a big message in the astrology community with Pluto entering into Aquarius right now. They're saying that it's a big shift, and they all keep saying the same thing. It's time to get your house in order. That's what they keep saying. It's time to get your house in order, right? And it's the whole, like we talk about moving into the age of Aquarius. That's kind of what it's about. It's about cleaning it up. It's about cleaning out the toxicity. It's about, we talked about the other things. Like the reason I work with, I'll bring it up, the Arcturians, is because they're very masculine energy, and there's a lot of toxicity in the masculine energy. And I've been trying to explain this because people are like, "Oh, you hate men." I'm like, no, it's the toxic masculine energy, and it's women are using it too. You know what I'm saying? Like all sides are using this toxic energy, and it's a matter of trying to clear it out. This ego energy too, that's also destroying the planet. When you care more about what the inside of your car looks like than what the outside in your neighborhood looks like you're riding down your own street in your own neighborhood, that you're so obsessed with the condition of the inside of your car that you don't care that you're going to throw a McDonald's bag. You don't care about your health. You don't care about the inside of your body because you're eating this garbage. And now you're going to throw it out of your car because your whole existence is just superficial visible. Yeah. And you don't care about, that's what I would worry about with the people get too much into that matrix simulation. Then they're like, the earth isn't real, so we can trash it. But other people aren't real, so we can treat them like garbage. And that's a very dangerous energy to get into. That's that toxic ego energy that's causing a lot of problems.
Yeah, I agree. Right now I'm going around.
What they should actually be focusing on, is getting that back in.
What's that? Say that again, Peter?
Hey? Now, what I was saying is they should focus on getting that balance, masculine, feminine, that type of energy, is getting it a perfect balance, not going that side or going that side, but balance seems to be gone out of the window. People don't care about that stuff. It's old language and all this, all that, but everything is balance. Male, female, energies, whatever you want to call it. Get it in balance, then everything is fine.
The red pill masculines, and then you've got the super extreme feminines, and you don't even realize that they're just mirroring the same toxic energy back and forth at each other because they're leaning too far to one side or the other. And it's an energy of what we call divine masculines and divine feminines are people who embody the balance of that energy. When someone describes themselves as a divine feminine, it's like, okay, I lean more towards feminine energy, but I honor the masculine energy within myself. A divine masculine is someone who honors the femininity within themselves, even though they are masculine. They don't have that cognitive dissonance that causes all that hate and divide.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, and literally what a lot of people don't realize, what Celeste was referring to and Peter was referring to.
Exactly. But if you're in balance with your energy, then things can happen. You don't go to one side.
Sorry, I was talking over Peter. Go ahead, Peter. I'm sorry. Repeat what you were saying. Unfortunately, I started talking.
No, I wasn't talking at all now. I was listening, waiting for you now.
Okay. So, literally,
No, I wasn't. I was actually waiting for you now.
Okay.
I wanted to hear what you were saying now.
Before, and what Celeste was referring to about the age of Aquarius, people don't know, they don't realize that what if you listen to the Mayans and the Incans, and they talked about the end of the world in 2012, that was wrong. That was it was just the end of their calendar, and the calendar was depicting a certain time, and that time before now was the time what they called Bach. and that was literally the masculine energy. And our entire planet was in the masculine energy portion of our psyche, not knowing that. So we had more toxic masculinity, and we had more people being warlike on the planet and being absorbed by that energy. And we've now literally shifted, and there's a shift. And even Willie was saying that he realized there was a shift, and that people seem to be being more kind to one another. And he was saying, please continue that. And the reason for that, and this has to do with the feminine energy, is that the age of Aquarius, according to all the ancients, is Baktun 13, which is literally moving away from the masculine warlike energy. And now we're moving into the more feminine, loving, caring energy. And that is the age of Aquarius. And the balance is starting to happen now. And this is what Celeste and Peter were referring to, where some people, you have women that are using more masculine energy and men using more feminine energy, where before there was this shift where everybody was polarized by the energy, one or the other. And now it's starting to come back towards the center, because we are now literally shifting away from the violent energy into a more loving, caring energy. And everyone's worried. The ones who want to be ultra masculine, they're over here going, oh, they're trying to make us all into women, or trying to make us all gay. And that's them fighting against the pull that's naturally happening. And they're overcompensating because they're afraid to embrace that part of the energy. It's not going to make everybody gay. It's not going to make everybody bisexual.
I'd say, though, there is on the other side, too, there's people who are pushing it way too far. Right? It's like the way, okay, so the masculine energy was way off on this way, but now you're pushing it way too far into the feminine. It's like allow people to just be who they are. Right. I worry a lot about social media and how trendy things are, and people who jump on bandwagons to be trendy, especially young people, because it's like you jump on a bandwagon to be trendy, and it's like you don't know how long that wagon's going to be rolling. Like there's going to be something trendy again in 5 years, and you don't want to do something to yourself that you can't change. You know what I'm saying? That you can't erase. Later on down the road. Like it's one thing to explore yourself. You take it.
That trendy trends is a load of shit, because you lose yourself. Your authentic self goes out the window the moment you jump on this bandwagon of this is a trend, that is a trend.
Yeah,
it's absolute nonsense. That stuff. You just lose yourself. 5 years down the road, I made a mistake. I'm going this direction.
I said that I describe it as like trying to help people awaken in these times. It's like running around opening boxes, and then they're climbing out of one box, and then you turn around and they're climbing into another box and like hammering themselves down into it. And it was like the whole point of getting you out of that one box is so that you could open your mind. And it's like you opened your mind and then immediately found, oh my God, I don't know what to do if I don't have an identifying label. If I don't have an identifier, I need, and then they go and they jump and they climb into another box. And it's like, stop trying to label yourself. I don't know. Yeah. I dealt with it with my kids for a while. Like they were very big into the LGBTQ, all that community, and like, which I don't mind them knowing about it, and I don't mind them exploring themselves. But they had all these flags one time. Like there was like 40 flags that they had drawn, and they had them all up on their wall. And I'm like, well, we were like curious, because I didn't know what it was. And I was like, what's all the flags? Like I knew the rainbow one. They're like, well, no, this one means gay, and this one means straight, and this one means cis, and this one means trans, and this one means bi, and this one means this, and this one means that. Right. And I'm like, why are you making these boxes so tiny for yourself? Like, why do you want to label yourself so bad? I don't want to be this, that, and the other thing. It's like, just be you. Like, don't worry so much about this label. You have your whole entire lives. It's like, you haven't even hit 30 yet, 30 in your Saturn return, where your whole life shakes down and you have to reinvent yourself again. Like, don't be so quick to box yourself in constantly. It's funny because we're sitting in little boxes on your TV screen right now, but that's definitely an energy I've been playing lately. It's like, don't box yourself in. Don't box yourself into religion or belief or whatever. It's one of my favorite things about you, Leo, is like you could be, what are you? Like you're ordained, you're a knight, you're a Jedi warrior. It's like, okay, yeah, I got that all these were really good books, but I'm not saying that this is the only book you should ever read. There's a huge difference. You want to stay open to all the knowledge. Don't lock yourself into one little tiny
that's what we're trying to show the world. Peter and I have a couple of different groups, especially the chat groups, returning to the old ways. And we're literally trying to show people the same, because and we're trying to teach people that all of these ascended masters, these characters in history, Jesus and Muhammad and Gandhi and the Buddha, they were all, let me turn this off because that's very loud in the background, even though I turned it down. And all of them were trying to teach a certain way that wasn't what everyone thinks. Everyone thinks that it was, like you were saying, trying to push them into a box of a religion. And the truth is they weren't. All of these people that were a part, or a religion has been made from them, they didn't want it to be a religion. They weren't trying to make a religion. They were trying to show people a spirituality and a personal spirituality and teach people that. And then we humans took that from them and turned it into a religion and then tried to make money out of it. And that's what they're doing. So I agree with you 100%. And this has been our mission. And Peter and I have been working on this for, since we met 7-8 years. And we literally are teaching the world, listen, guys, you got to get back to the old ways. Nature, Virginia said it earlier. If I could find the comment, I'll put it up on the screen. She said, go out into nature and reacquaint yourself with nature and be in nature instead of being in your house or in the city, because you don't realize how much you're missing by not. And then all you see is, like you were saying before, the garbage and the crap and the stuff that other people are throwing. But when you go out to nature, what do you see? You see nature. Unless humans are there throwing their garbage there, it's not there anymore. And nature is just there. It's taking care of itself. So we're teaching people no one way is the proper way, and that all the ways, if you look at them and put them all together, that's why they came up with that coexist using all the symbols, because they were trying to show the same thing, that it's not, you shouldn't be fighting over a way, because literally the way is called the Tao, the Tao Te Chi, which is a Chinese a proverb that was written 634 BCE, so 2,630 years ago. Some Chinese man said a certain philosophy that turned out to be now a religion. And at the same time, another one said the same philosophy, and it turned out to be Buddhism. And then 600 years later, there was another guy named Jesus who was teaching the same thing. And now there's a religion called Christianity. And then 1,100 years ago,
I heard somebody say it, like everybody agrees. It's like there was all these pizza chains, and everybody agrees that Pizza Hut is the best pizza chain. And now everybody's going to fight over who's the best delivery guy from the pizza chain. You know what I'm saying? It's like you always got to find a way to break it down a little bit more.
Right.
You know what's so interesting? And it's really interesting. Jesus never asked to be worshipped. You can read the Bible all you want. Never. There's never a verse in the Bible Jesus asked to be worshipped. People worshipped him. He didn't ever ask or say, worship me. Not a single time. So it's a made-up human thing.
Yep. Never.
He didn't ask for it.
Yep. In fact, when Pilate asked him, are you the king of the Jews? He said, no. And he says, you're not the king? And he said, no, my kingdom is in heaven. And he said, but you're the leader. He said, no. I'm the son of man. Are you the son of God? Some said you're God. No, I
like Forrest Gump. He's like, no, they're just following me. I was just running.
That's my point. Yeah. They worshipping someone that didn't ask to be worshipped. It was never his wishes. His message was love. That's what he came to earth to teach us. Yep. That you can do anything through love.
That way, that became
religion. Was his message, not a religious message. He simply taught us love. Yep. Nothing more, nothing less. His message was love. Gandhi's message was peace. They all have simple messages. We just complicate the whole bloody thing always. That's a human quality. We have to complicate things. Never keep it simple, complicate it.
Right. It's all right there in the center. Do you see that on your screen? That is the center of you, the center of everything, the center of the universe, everything that you can imagine. That is the center. That's where you are. I don't have that picture drawn up, but I have one that has the little arrow and says you are here. That is literally the center of your light, where you are is in that little spot, right there in the center is this right there. See, that is literally a person, a woman meditating in that center slot of that toroidal field, which is your field, which is the same field that is the energy of everything in the universe. You can see that on the screen now, the images that I'm putting up on the screen for you to see. All of that is generated from one place and is visualized from one place, visualized through your third eye, but it comes from the heart, the center of the all, the center of everything. And that is what Jesus was teaching, and Muhammad was teaching, and the Buddha was teaching, and everybody, it doesn't matter who it is, that if you, whatever religion that you follow, if you look at who your God or deity or Godhead, what is it that they were teaching, apart from the semantics of the religion itself, what were they teaching? You'll find that, like Peter said, they were teaching you love. And it got corrupted by us. We changed it
we corrupted everything.
Go ahead, Peter. I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, we've talked about this before. People are so worried about going into 5D. Yeah. They always forget that there's a 4, but between 3 and 5, there's actually a 4. But that's a chat for another day. Right? You will not enter 5D. If you don't have love in your heart, you're not entering 5D. No ways. That's the key to everything. You have to have unconditional love in your heart. And they all want to go into 5D. They're not going if you haven't got love in your heart. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, agreed. You have to go past, you have to go through 4. You're right. And you have to learn that before you can go into 5D. And I tell people that there's a difference between 3D, 4D, and 5D, and being in 3D, going through 3D, 4D, and 5D in the third dimension. There's octaves in the third dimension before you go into the fourth. So people get confused and they think we're going into 5D. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not. Actually, you're just going into the fifth layer of the third dimension. You're not actually going to the fourth or the fifth dimension because those are places. And there's a difference between a place and a density, a dimension and a density, but they're both called 3D because they both start with a D, and people only understand one, and they think that it means both, and they don't know there is a separation. So Peter,
no, they think they're going to go into a different alternate universe. Like they think they're just going to poof from one place and appear in another dimension. It's like that's not really how it works. I will say though, it's in the tarot, right?
They're hoping
the heart and the feather there.
That's
the whole point of the card in the tarot.
Put that back up again, Celeste, because I didn't
have
your full screen.
That's the whole point of this card in the tarot deck. This is the Justice card.
Yep, there you go.
And that's what it talks about. You see the heart and the feather there?
Yeah.
And this card talks a lot about it's about your heart being as light as a feather. Like that is the whole point. If you move from a heart-based center, your scales, everything will keep balancing out for you. Justice will keep balancing out for you. But when you do things against your negative things that bring you, and like that's how karma works. It's not like an entity that's chasing you around. Karma is something you're carrying with you. It's something that you know inherently you did wrong when you did it. And it makes your heart heavy. And it makes the scales go unbalanced in your life, and that's why there ends up being so much turmoil. That's why they really need to take time to sit and ground and center yourself. And there's an energy in forgiving yourself and things that you've done in the past before you knew better. You have to allow yourself to do that to get yourself back in that balance as well. Or else you'll keep having that one side of the scale being pulled down because your heart is too heavy. That's the extension of having a dark spot on your heart as well.
Yep,
I said I want to keep doing it. I did one of the reasons I love tarot cards so much is if you go through the tarot from 1 to 12 and then go through 1 through 22 in the major arcana, it goes through what you will go through in your spiritual ascension. It covers every turmoil you go through as you go in. As you gain a little bit of power, then this happens, and then you hit a certain point, and then you hit the devil card, then you hit the death card, and it's all these awakening moments in your spiritual journeys that you will have to face and you will have to overcome. And it's in every story from Krishna, Moses, Jesus, Buddha, all of them have gone through everything that's described in the tarot. I mean, that's why it was created. It's one of the reasons.
All the info you'll ever need to get through life are in those cards.
Mm-hmm. Also, it has all the seasons in the cards. We talk about Earth Day and why it's so important to be in working with the earth. And one of the reasons I do 13 moons, 13 runes, and get people to follow the moon cycles and pay attention to how even the moon is affecting you, because the moon also affects the earth. It affects the tides. It affects everything, right? When you're in tune with nature, I mean, even in a health aspect, in winter, you should eat winter foods for your area, whether you're in the northern or the northern hemisphere. What's natural to eat during winter? More tubular and more meat, you know what I'm saying? More potatoes and things like that. And you know, like butternut squash. That's what you eat in the wintertime, right? And then in the summertime, you eat light things. You eat berries, you eat lettuce, you eat very light things. And it's like, and if you can get yourself in rhythm with what nature is around you and grounding in with the earth and tuning into that frequency, it'll help alleviate a lot of your own energetic frequency, because the earth has that's the earth's magnetosphere that you showed up there as well. Like every plant, you know, the earth has that magnetosphere. You know, that's the energy it puts out as well. And then we put out as well. When your heart beats, it's pumping liquid through your body. That liquid's generating energy. That's your energetic field. You know, I also like to bring up the fact that your heart has those little neurons in it that are like brain neurons, which is why the Egyptians worship the heart so much. It really is your center. When your heart hurts over something, that's your heart actually thinking right then. You know, that's, people can die of a broken heart. You can't break your heartstrings.
Right? Sorry, I had myself on mute. I was sharing this out everywhere. So all of this, the reason that we bring this up is all of this has to do with literally centering and helping yourself. And in doing so, that's the only way that we can then start looking at the planet itself. But we do have to look at the planet, and we have to do something about the planet and bettering things and helping around the world and giving back to the planet itself. So I know that some of you are like, oh no, they've gone too far with this religion or spirituality. But the truth is that the only place that you're going to be able to truly see the earth and say, oh, we need to do something about that is when you start caring about yourself, because you can't care about the earth itself as a whole if you don't care about yourself. Or if you only care about yourself, then you're not going to care about the world in general. So you have to look at other people and see them and care about them. And you have to look at the world and see them in the world and care about it. So you have to be able to see around you and from that perspective. And that's why we bring that up. And that's why we talk about raising your consciousness in spirituality, because once you start doing that, you look around you and go, wow, we need to make some changes here.
One of the things about change, sorry, I know I just came in here, but kind of back to the tree thing, if you could pull that up, something that really special that some people did for my brother, and this is the back of the thing. We got a certificate, and what some friends did, this is a company that you can donate, that trees will go to forests. They'll donate a tree. So our friend donated a couple different trees in my brother's name. And what you're seeing on the screen right now, Trees for a Change, is that they will plant these in areas where there have been wildfires, not flowers, fires. And you can actually go on, and we were able to look up exactly where they planted the trees in honor of Drew. It's actually in California, where you're at in Northern California. And they will give you a location to where you can go into that grove in that area where those trees are planted. So you're doing something that can memorialize someone. You can memorialize Earth Day, go and plant, and you don't even have to go and plant the tree. You can call and, or go onto the website here and, no, they're not paying me right now to be advertising for them, but this is a beautiful, wonderful way. Like I said, if you don't have time to go plant a tree, then you can go do it and do it in someone else's name. Like I said, do it for Earth Day. Do it. Every day should be Earth Day. We shouldn't just have just this one day. But that is the website and the phone number for treesforachange.com. And like I said, you can do this at any time. And two, even if you just want to plant a little forest for like your family and say, oh, well, someday we're going to go to that place and it'll give you the coordinates. And you can go and say, oh, my family had these trees planted here for our family, the Wilson family or whatever.
Right.
And so you can do it for all
visit.
But you're hitting two birds with one stone. You're not only doing something good of memorializing or having that moment, but then you're also making sure that these areas that need these trees from devastation of fire, are being replanted. And so I definitely, that's one thing that I did want to plug, because I just think it was such a beautiful thing and such a wonderful way to honor people and even, do it on Easter, do it on Thanksgiving,
Anytime.
like, hey, for Thanksgiving this year, you guys, we're all going to save up money and we're all going to put in to have however many trees planted. And we'll just say that it's in the name of our family, or we're going to say that it's the name of grandma and grandpa or whatever.
Right.
So I did want to bring that. Thank you, Leo, for bringing that.
And for those listening on the MP3 file, you guys have missed all of the stuff. So I'm going to read this one. Treesforchange.com, TreesforChange.com. Or you can call the phone number. It's America. So it's a 1 world country code. Area code 707-508-9262. So if you're in America, you can just dial that number and you can get a hold of them there, or you can go to treesforchange.com/products/add-a-tree, or just go to their website and they have a link. So treesforchange.com. And then you can actually literally sponsor a tree for someone, for yourself, like Cassie was saying, and then they'll go and plant one for you. And you're making a change. So if you can't go physically out and dig, like on the video, I showed you a whole crew, and they were very proud that they were digging and making changes. And I showed you their picture of them doing that. You can't do that for whatever reason, or you don't want to, but you still want to make that change, and you want to help the environment of the planet. You can go to treesforchange.com. And you could sponsor a tree like you would, just like you see on television, where they say you can sponsor an animal over in Africa to make sure that they have food, or a child somewhere around the world. Those things are all good too. And I don't have some of those resources. And I didn't think about that until just now, where I would have had them on the screen. We already had like 20 literally that we've been playing for you guys all day. And I just added that website there for you guys to go and take a look from literally while she was talking. I typed it in the banner and added it. But and then again, I want to cover this. I want to go back. Let me find the if you are wanting to help teach. Literally, this is a teacher's guide right here. Let me put that on the screen for you to see. I'll put it up on the big screen too. Literally, teachersversion.com. If you www.teachersversion.com, holidays they have for all the holidays, or Earth Day. You can see it on your screen. You can go there if you want. You don't have to be on Earth Day for that, but they have the resources there that if you want to go and teach kids, if you are a teacher and you want to teach your kids, this is one of the official websites for the world for teachers or someone who just wants to do that with kids. We also have, where's the other one? I have one that's from the National Geographic, and I don't know what I did with it. Here it is here, National Geographic as well. They also have a resource center on National Geographic that you guys can go to. National Geographic. It's education.nationalgeographic.org/resources/Earth Day. And you can see that on your screen. These are resources that you can get to find to help. Some of these, the teacher's one is literally all the stuff you download to have a workbook and a curriculum to teach kids about Earth Day and giving back and going out and doing things just like Cassie was talking about, where you can go out to the community and teach kids. If you watch the video that I have, I show kids planting food and having a garden. I love the one with the boy and the girl, and literally next to them, there's stuff planted in the ground and it literally says rabbit food. So they literally planted something to feed the rabbit, and they put a little stick in the ground and it says rabbit food. Most people didn't catch that in the video, but I did. And that's one of the reasons why I put that photo of those two kids, and because they're working a little garden in their backyard. and literally one portion of it is rabbit food. So they were actually making something. Either they have a pet rabbit or they're giving food because they know that rabbits live in their area, one or the other, and I don't know why, don't know for sure, or if it was just a joke from the parents, because some people call any plants that you eat, like Celeste was talking about before, rabbit food, but it's true that we need to eat that stuff, and we need to look at these resources, and that's why we're here to educate you around the world, not just, even though we're...
I'd also say go out and support your local FFA at your schools. If you have Future Farmers America in your schools, they are doing their plant sales and stuff right now. That's what we were just at Friday, so we went and supported them over there. I definitely support the education and growing your own food and things like that. It needs to be taught more. It's not in every school, but if you have it in your area, definitely go and support that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it also says it too, when if you're one of the people like... Go ahead.
I was going to say that my friend that is actually a para for at a school, she's an assistant, and she was working with disabled children and whatnot, but she started a school garden. She has always been into gardening, and she started it to be able to also work with not just, it helps to be able to bring food in for the school. It also, you can use history, you can use science, you can use math, you can go out and write poetry about a freaking carrot if you want to. You can include all of your different, all your different subjects in with just a garden, just with that one simple thing. But, so I think, what are some other ways that we could probably give some advice on, making different changes so we're not as reliable on the government, start being more self-sufficient of, like we said, getting local food at like your farmers markets,
farm to
getting
fork,
like honey,
farm to
getting
fork.
local honey because of the antibiotics and stuff that are in your area that is going to go with
support local businesses for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the local honey, to Cassie's point, if you have allergies, the local honey will help your allergies because the bees are getting it from the stuff that's making you sneeze, and you eating that honey from your region, from your area, from bees in your area is literally going to help you. You won't have to take drugs for your allergies. And that's the truth. When I lived in Arizona, they had a nursery less than a mile from my house, and they had this guy sold this from that area, the honey, and we used to get that. My wife and I got that every day, every time we needed some. So it was once a month or once every 2 months. We'd buy a jar, and we never had any problem with allergies. Even though we lived in the desert, you still, guys, just so you know, you still have hay fever in the desert because there's still plants, and it's just different plants than there are in your city, right? So wherever you're at, you know what I'm talking about. So these are some of the things that Cassie was saying, and it was Celeste was saying. You can get involved in ways that are really small that make a big change in your community, and doing that and being less reliant, going back to Cassie's point, and then I'm gonna let her continue, and Celeste, being less reliant on the system and more reliant on nature is and Peter will agree with me because this is our mission. Returning to the old ways is the mission of the entire coalition. And we literally have returning to the old ways. I should change, Peter, one of our groups, our spiritual groups, to returning to the old ways instead of, because we're not using two of our spiritual group. One, we're not using, and the other one we kind of are. So I should probably change that to returning to the old ways and make that a little more official. But that's where our mission is, to get everybody the knowledge. And what that means is returning to the old ways literally means back to nature, like Cassie's leading us to. So thank you for that. And becoming more aware of, instead of just going to the store to get things, what can I grow? Oh, I live in an apartment. I live in a city. We don't have a yard, Leo. I do too. Okay. And I wish I would have thought about it. I would have taken my camera and showed you, because you can, in front of your window in your bedroom where you can open and get light in, you can put a planter box and grow stuff. Out on your patio, you have a patio in most apartments. In some way you can grow stuff. Everybody used to trip. They'd come over to my house, and in front of my house I had planters, and there was this tall grass growing. They're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, that one's carrots, and the other one that's really tall is potatoes." right?
There you go.
Be surprised what you can find in your own backyard. A big thing in the communities that I worked with is making when the dandelions and the violets all came into bloom. Everybody ran out there to go make dandelion jelly and violet tea and stuff like that. And it's all around. You learn your indigenous plants in your area. You'd be amazed at how many flowers are actual edible. You can make your summer salads, like if you want to be all prissy, you can make your summer salads look fantastic with some flowers sprinkled in there. I think it's important, though, if you are going to be someone who forages, be a steward of the earth. Never take more than 1/3 of the plant you are harvesting from. Don't be a jerk. Don't be like some of these people around here that went out for morels and they got an entire truckload of morels and decimated a field that had them and left nothing to bloom for the next year. Always make sure you leave enough for the plants to be able to survive and for them to be more next year.
Leave the roots.
Leave the roots, right? Yeah, leave some way for it to reproduce again.
Here in America, ginseng is the best ginseng on the planet. It's grown in the United States of America, back east in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And literally, they had a television show where these guys would go out and harvest it. And they were literally saying, look, when you pull and you go to get, because it's a crustacean, it's the root itself, you have to leave the plant alive and only clip it off and leave the plant in there, because if you don't, they won't grow back. And this is what Celeste is why she's saying that. If you're being greedy and you just go and yank the plant out, you're taking out the entire life of the plant itself that lives in the ground, and they won't bloom the next year because you've literally taken the plant completely out of the ground with your greed. Don't do that. Learn about the plant. Become smart, like Celeste is saying. Learn about the plant itself and how do I harvest that for my food. Yeah, agreed.
Right. You have to do that. Well, I was going to say, even about when you were talking about being in an apartment and whatnot, even like wintertime. I'm in North Idaho. Not right now, but that's where I live. But
wait, really quickly, and then you can continue. I have to go and make lunch for my mom, so I'm going to mute my microphone and disappear. You guys continue talking. I can hear you. So if something crazy happens and you need me, just go, Leo, oh my God, and I'll run back over here. But you guys talk. I'm going to be gone for a minute on mute because I'm going to get lunch from my mother so that she can eat, and then I'll be back. All right. So continue, please.
Okay. What I was going to say is that for Christmas, and it wasn't very expensive, but you could put it right in your kitchen, and it has a little grow light, and it came with 4 little canisters, and you could plant different herbs, and I got 4 different herbs, and in each of those things, and as they grow, you can move the light up, and it wasn't that expensive of a thing. You can find it on Amazon right there. Then you can have fresh herbs right in your kitchen all year long. You don't have to worry about the snow. You don't have to worry about those. So there's these little things that you can do. And absolutely, Celeste, like you were talking about, the foraging, and even with like fishing and hunting, that's very popular around the areas that I'm in. And, feeding your family, being able to put some meat in the freezer, catching some fish, if that's, what people, want to be able to do. It's still being more self-reliant and we all know about how processed all of our foods are and how all the vitamins and minerals and nutrients have been taken out. And so exactly what we were talking about all earlier about the mental health and about your well-being and about self-care is putting those good, healthy foods in you and not doing those boxed, a lot of boxed things and a lot of processed things. And so, yeah. Jacqueline, hey, it'd be awesome to...
Hi, friends.
Yeah. How is your day going? I know you've been really quiet.
Fantastic. I had to manja, so I ate.
Yeah.
I had to come back, and then the kids were like, so can I have the computer back now? I'm like, of course. Of course. I love being here present with all of you because... even though it's been a few years we've been doing this, it just goes to show it's the same things. We keep showing up and explaining that no matter what part in the journey you are, is if you're making that conscious effort in whatever degree that is. If you're a child, an adolescent, an adult, senior, doesn't matter what age or framework or any of that stuff, it's all relevant. And that's where I'm understanding today that just give yourself permission to understand the process, because you can't have the entire buffet of food in one mouthful. We got to portion ourselves in a way to make it palatable, let alone digest it, right? So
yes, absolutely.
It's
Absolutely. Mr. Peter, what have your thoughts been?
My thoughts is that I've got electricity for another 10 minutes, then I'm just going to disappear into the dark. No, but there's another system. There's another system called hydroponics. If you have a hydroponic system, then you don't even need soil to grow vegetables.
Yeah.
You just need water. That's even better, because in apartment buildings and stuff, you put hydroponic systems. No soil, nothing. You can grow any vegetable you ever want in that hydroponics. But I suspect it's a very expensive system to get in, to start with at least. But it's sustainable. That's the word we should use.
It's sustainable. That has
actually
all those survivals of actually being able to set up a hydroponic system pretty cheap with like PVC pipe and being able to build it. And so I think you, like you say, Peter, you can like buy a hydroponic system, but there's ways that you can make that stuff yourself as well. And it is about educating yourself and you know, trying to gain that knowledge. But the more that we start standing on our own and we working together and stop separating ourselves. Yeah.
And if there's a will, there's a way.
Right.
Yeah,
that's for the hydroponic system. I had a turtle tank once that I had stacked terracotta pots with herbs in it, and I would just take a pitcher and scoop water out of the turtle in the goldfish tank and just pour it into the top of the herb tank, and it would just flow down through and then back into the tank. You know, I mean, I had to do it physically by hand. I didn't have a pump, but I mean, it only cost me a couple cents per terracotta pot and herbs from the produce section at my local grocery store. And I was able to just build one right on top of now you couldn't do it with, I don't think you could do it with like a chlorinated fish tank. Like it was like one of those little pond type tanks for the turtle. So, but there's what, you know, there's when, like you said, where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to figure it out, you'll figure something out.
Yes.
Well, you get off the system by doing that. And the more you get off the system, the better for you. It's that same bloody system that kills us, with the poison food we eat. It's rubbish. I've got a lady that helps me with my health. If you go to McDonald's or one of those places, she flat out refuses to help you. She'll tell you straight up, listen, don't waste my time. I won't waste your time, get out. I will not help you. That's how strict that lady is. But all her medicine is natural. Everything's natural. But some of them right here. Natural oils like this.
Yeah.
If you drink. But if you eat wrong, like she specifically named McDonald's. If you eat McDonald's, don't come to her. She will not treat you. So tell you, old lady, she's probably what, 75, 78. But she's got amazing results. All natural medicine.
So you'd be surprised what you can force when it comes to medicines and teas too.
Yes.
What you actually talking to get your oxygen.
Even just for, you know, berries, there's so much plant medicine out there. And I, even in the last year, have been studying mushrooms with my childhood best friend. And we've on our own just been researching. In the beginning, we were looking at, for psychology reasons, of working with psilocybin, you know, with mushrooms for PTSD and for trauma, for anxiety and depression. And we're looking on that forefront. She's becoming a doctor and I'm going to possibly be assisting her. That's what we're working towards. And one of my projects. But, you know, that's just mushrooms. I take a mushroom and I do a hot chocolate every morning, and it's a little thing with 10 different mushrooms in it, and it has natural adaptogens and other botanicals in it that also help, like ginkgo biloba, but it's got reishi mushroom and lion's mane and turkey tail and
chaga,
some chaga, and a whole, like I said, 10 of them is what I take. But I have noticed an amazing difference just since I started doing that in November. And so it's little things that, you know, help your body, that help the environment, that you're using, that are natural, that are, you know, and mushrooms are really coming out as a big superpower. We know that there's all sorts of herbs and plants that are all healing, and we can, You know, we were talking about oils. We're talking about, you know, rocks, crystals with different vibrations in them, energy healing, you know, Reiki, and all these different things, kind of wrapping together. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Kind of lost my train of thought.
But we all know how much I love.
Well, actually, as I was talking to Cassie about the mushrooms, I have actually increased. Before I was taking 2. Now I'm taking 9 mushrooms every day. And dandelion, I also take. Celeste, going back to what you were talking about before I left, I actually take dandelion and a few others. I don't have it written down. I should have, because I didn't realize we're going to go down that road. And I heard you guys talk, and I was like, oh no, I don't remember everything that I take. I should run in and grab all the things. But I literally take like 9 or 10 much different mushrooms, and I take dandelion, not dandelion root, but dandelion head, in pill form. And a few other things as well. Yellow dock, which is another weed that people tear out of their house and throw in the garbage. And it's actually really, really good for us. There's so many resources. In fact, here, I made sure while I was running around getting food. Again, like Cassie said, I'm not getting paid for any of this and endorsing these people. So don't think I'm doing a commercial for them because I'm getting paid, because I'm not. But I am going to give you a really good resource book that if you want to know about this stuff, you should take a look at it. This one, and I'll put myself up on full screen here so you can see it better. This book,
yes,
The Lost Ways. Let me get it out of the light shining on it. The Lost Ways.
I have that too.
You have that too, right? That is a great resource to have, guys. Another one. Here's one that is kind of crazy. That was, it's hard to find in the United States. Let me go back and full screen on this one. Here's another one that has a lot of resources. This here, let me show you. Let me put myself in full screen. Another crazy, wait a minute. Why didn't I go up there? There we go. Another one that you should look at is Miracles from the Vault. This is, you can see Anthology and Underground Cures. This is literally another a group of information. This book is really thick. I don't know how many pages it is. It's like 10,000 or something. Well, it's only 500, but it's, you know, the big version. Those 2 books are great resources. And I don't have the other one. It's over, I think it's in the living room. I have one that has all of the plants, getting back to what both Cassie and Peter and everybody was talking about, knowing the right plants and how to do that. I have a book that I didn't grab. Because I was in a hurry. Oh yeah, let me grab these and this to show them because they're talking about it. But find the resources and buy these online. And one that I have literally has a drawing and a picture of all the different plants and when they are harvestable, what they're good for, if they are at all, including mostly, because most of what we call weeds are in fact something that's edible, not all. So you have to learn the difference of what's edible and what's not. And rule of thumb that I've learned from different botanists is if it's jagged and if it has hair that's prickly, don't eat it. Those are bad for you. But if it's not, chances are, but
and if it's milky,
assume it that it's not. So literally something that is sharp and jaggedy, and if it looks like a cat tongue and it feels like a cat tongue, don't eat it because it's not good for you. But you should.
If it's milky as well.
2 books have those resources in them for you to see, and you can literally buy I have a small one that I carry in my satchel when I took out to show somebody and left it in the living room. Otherwise I'd just grab my satchel and show you. And that literally, as I'm out in the world, I can pull that up and go, what is it that I'm looking at if I'm going to go and try to forage, like both Cassie and Celeste were talking about. You need to know what you're doing and how to do it properly. But they're out there, guys. You just have to look for them.
Yeah, be very careful if you're harvesting your own mushrooms. That's very, very tricky if you don't know what you're doing. You make yourself very sick. My uncle made himself very, very sick trying the mushroom once.
Yep.
Right.
Well, not even so sure he had it right.
It will actually kill you.
Right?
And it will kill you quickly.
Yes.
That's why the education or having a book with you to make sure that you know, or a professional with you that you know knows what type you know.
Put out a disclaimer so nobody gets sued, right?
Right. The thing is with plants, if it has a milky substance to it, it's poisonous. Stay away from it. The moment that juice turns white. It's got white juice. Stay away. It's as poisonous as you can get.
Break it and it's got white juice.
But interestingly, the shamans.
Funny because actually,
the shamans have two superfoods: garlic
wild
and
lettuce
herbs.
is really popular around these areas.
What's that, Celeste?
And it's got that milky. What the wild lettuce in the dandelion family?
It does have a milky blood, doesn't it?
And that's why I was like, oh, I don't think all
Yeah.
of them. Maybe probably the
But
majority
Peter's
of them,
right. If you don't know,
But like he said, it has an altering aspect to it. It's not as like harmless as dandelion would be, as regular dandelion. Like, a lot of people use that stuff to get off narcotics and stuff, but I would never suggest anybody who's just getting into this stuff to go out there and like that, you know. It's kind of like trying mushrooms. Like, know what you're doing before you do it. Dandelions are one thing. Violets, petunias, little flowers like that are easy to eat. You know, that's one thing. But, you know your plants.
No, yeah, learn it before you do it, because if you don't, like they're saying, especially with mushrooms, and like Peter
make sure, especially with mushrooms,
blood in it. If you don't know what the plant is ahead of time, that could make you really sick or kill you. It really can. So you have to be careful there. So that's why these resource books are really good, but they're not just.
So that's what they harvest out of.
I genuinely know.
Go ahead, Peter.
I know a whole family. I think it was the mom and dad and two boys. Ate the wrong mushrooms. Less than an hour, gone. All four of them. Not one made it. It attacks your liver. The liver goes, die. Less than an hour. I think 45 minutes. They call it devil's hat or something like that. It's got a name. It's got a brown inside. It's called devil's hat or devil. Yeah, that thing is absolutely deadly. If you make a mistake, and I don't think they can actually treat it. That specific mushroom, there's no treatment for it. You won't even reach the hospital. So just make sure. If you rather leave it if you don't know what to do. Otherwise,
any type of berry, any type of herb, any type of mushroom that you're going out, educate yourself, get education from someone else, make sure you're identifying and you're, what you're, so none of us are saying, hey, go out there and just forage and just get whatever, none of us are saying that, none of us are advertising that. All of us are all saying, please educate yourselves, ask, you can get a hold of any of us, and we don't have all the answers.
It's funny. When I moved to Arizona, here's an example to further what Cassie's saying, and everybody actually. But I was moving to Arizona. I'm back in California now. But when I was moving to Arizona, my best friend Paul said, "Bro, you better make sure you have money or something. You're moving the desert. If the world goes crazy and goes cuckoo, you're going to starve to death." And I thought maybe he's right. So I looked into it and realized, in the Sedona Desert in Arizona, I could live completely off the grid, as it were. If the world went crazy, I could live off of the desert and actually have food and water from the desert more readily available than in town, because it's wild out there. And then I started realizing, when I was reading the resources, a lot of things that we eat grow wild in the desert. Asparagus grows in the desert wild. Avocados grow in the desert wild. Peanuts grows in the desert wild, right? Not to mention things like
cactuses are edible.
All kinds of stuff. And it grows out there. And I was like, bro, I got more food out here in the desert than you do in the city. And he's like, what? And the two of us ended up really diving deep into that. And I added that to my book, which is prepping / survival for beginners. I added the information in there about these resources, because learn the area you live in. If you live in a modern city, you're going to find that most of the plants that they're planting in the modern city are poisonous. So they're not good for you. It's the ones that grow wild or in people's backyards where they plant things that you could eat. So you got to be careful if you live in a modern city. Don't just look around to the plants, getting back to what Cassie was saying. Don't just go, I'm going to go and try that and see if it's any good. Because usually what they're planting
it was part of the program to get us to manicure our lawns and to rip up all our natural medicine and take out all our natural food and plant poisonous things. One thing that I learned about, I guess, living in the South with the colonies and everything that was down there, and especially when they started building the railroads, a lot of the plants that they brought in, a lot of these oriental plants that were all like, they were bought up by the colonists as degradation, ended up being medicinal plants that the Chinese brought over when they were working on the railroad to plant for themselves as food and medicine. So it's like, what is it? Crepe myrtle treats blood sugar. There's like a whole list of plants that they brought over that are actually, there was medicine, traditional native people that brought their traditional native medicine with them over here. But even the Native Americans, there's so many plants out there that treat so much. I mean, wild chamomile everywhere in the South. And it's like all these people were worried about, I call it the vids or the Rona or whatever it was. And everybody ran to the store to go get Tylenol and all this other respiratory treatments. And I turned around and I went to my local herbal shops and I got mullein and I got chamomile and I got hawthorn and I got herbs that treated respiratory problems and herbs that treated the sinus problems. Because I was like, the stores are running out of medicine. I said, but these bags are going to last me 10 years, right. So whatever happens over the next, year or so, I had those teas on hand for it all. I'm a huge proponent for teas, and doing natural if you can get away with it over doing the other stuff, I don't see the difference between giving your kid Tylenol or like NyQuil or a shot of whiskey at some points, man. I'm like, it's almost like the same thing at that, I'd rather give my kid, a cup of hot chamomile tea and just a little bit of Tylenol just for the fever instead of all this excess chemicals that come in with some of this mixed up stuff.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that aspirin in and of itself, aspirin was based originally on white willow bark. Yeah, the bark of a tree, of the willow tree. White willow bark crushed down into a powder is aspirin. It has that was what they based aspirin on. People were eating white willow bark, crushing it down and eating it or putting it in the mouth and sucking on it, literally bark from the tree, pull it off, put it under your tongue. And it had and they said, what is that? And then they started making it. And growing it, and then eventually they started figuring out how to synthesize it so they wouldn't have to grow the trees all the time. Everything we have in all medicine that is out there is based on something natural that occurs on the planet that they then try to figure out how to make chemically so they don't have to grow the plants. That's the trick of it.
Yeah, it becomes artificial rather than organic.
Yep.
For every disease on earth, there's a plant on earth. It's as simple as that. There literally is a plant for every disease known to man. We've just lost the knowledge, but the knowledge is still out there. Right. That's why it's return to nature. Return to nature, you heal yourself, and this big pharma and this stuff will fall apart. You won't survive.
Yeah, right.
We just have to get our knowledge back. We have the knowledge. We just remember the knowledge again, and we go back to nature. That hawthorn berries Celeste was talking about, excellent stuff. You put it in a tea and let it soak for about 30 minutes, drink it stuff for heart health. Read up on hawthorn berries and heart health. Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
the hawthorn, yeah,
it's lovely stuff. That I actually drink it myself. And stuff like stinging nettle.
So you get into nature, it'll heal anything, even with the mental health issues. And people talk about meditation and things and what you could do to help your own mental health. And when you're going through, if you're having those intrusive thoughts and things like that, the earth, because it has that giant running energy that you show in the graphics that you were showing before, that centralized circular energy, if you go outside and you ground and you focus on your own energy that's like that, and you can feel it channel up through you and then rain down around you, those are the moments. Like, a lot of people were asking what they could do to help raise the frequency of the planet. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to go to the store. You don't even have to plant a tree or a garden. You can just go outside, and it doesn't even matter if it's sad or negative, or even if it's like angry energy. If you purge that out to the earth, that's what the earth does. It takes death and renews it as life. It transmutes energy. So even if you're meditating and you're crying, and that's the energy that you're processing out and you're cleaning it out of your space, the earth will take that in for you. That's what she wants. She wants you to ground your feet back down. She wants to feel your feet on the earth. She wants to reconnect with you and help you to purge these energies. And the more disconnected you are, that's why I get into that heavy heart energy, the more all that stuff keeps getting bottled in. And what we call that, it gunks up the works from your chakras. You know what I'm saying? Everything tends to get, you have 3 major breakthroughs when you go through like your Kundalini energy, right? First, there's the root chakra that blasts open when you first finally connect, right? And a lot of us will suffer from back spasms and weird leg pain and things like that when that happens. And then you have that heart center opening, which I know some people describes it as like being knocked to your knees when it happens. A lot of people accidentally have that when they're like doing yoga. You'll think you were having a heart attack, but it's not a heart attack. It's a very weird feeling. And then you have where like finally the energy makes it all the way up to the top. Your third eye opens and then your crown chakra. And then it's just, it all clears out. And like I said, you can cry and scream and punch the earth and everything else. And she'll just take that and transmute it for you. And when you're done, you will feel better.
Yes.
Because that's the point, is to mimic that energy. We're her batteries. You're supposed to be plugged in.
Yeah.
You just take off your shoes and you go for a walk in nature. The moment you take off that shoes, you connect to the earth energies. It comes up through your feet. It's simple things you do. Don't walk with shoes in nature, walk barefoot. Yeah. It's actually very healing to walk barefoot in nature.
Yeah, it helps.
It's healing for your feet, it's healing for your soul. You connect to that earth energy.
If you can't get your feet, at least get shoes that don't have rubber bottoms. Get you some like leather moccasins or something to walk in. Something with natural fiber that's not blocking you from connecting. It was a big thing that someone told me, that was a big conspiracy theory, that the whole point of putting rubber on the bottom of your shoes was to try to disconnect us.
Separate you. Yep. Separate you from the energy of the earth.
Yeah, because you can ground anywhere. You actually, I mean, if you live in some place and it's cold and it's the middle of winter and you don't know what to do and you live in a high-rise apartment, you know, it's like, it's as easy as concrete counts. You can go to your basement and ground on concrete because it's just rock. So you can ground there even in the wintertime. I'm a big proponent of grounding in the shower. It's a great place to cleanse your aura. You can do visualizations in there where the water is running down and clearing your aura for you. And the water will connect you to the metal pipes that connect into the ground. And that water is also a conduit as well. So you can also ground in the shower. You can ground in a tub or any body of water as well. You know, those are good tricks if you can't get outside, if you are in an apartment, if you feel silly sitting out on your porch where people can watch you. You know, like I said, I'm a big one for, you know, tub rituals and shower rituals are an easy way to ground and connect and purge. I said that too. If you don't want people to see you cry, there's nothing wrong with crying in the shower. And then when you're done, you can stand up and wash your face and get out and go to bed. You know?
Right.
You wake up feeling completely different in the morning. Allow yourself to purge these energies. Don't bother
learn to connect to it. Everything is connected because everything is the same. All of your energy, everything that you are, the field around you that you are, and the energy that you give off is the same energy that connects the entire universe and everything in it. I mean, literally, you can see on your screen our lungs and how the pathways in our lungs are exactly the same as the pathways on the earth, as what it looks like from a tree growing and on a leaf. It's the same thing. And what are leaves but the lungs of the tree, right? So you have to realize that everything that we are is what nature is, and it's all the same electrical field that makes up what we are and who we are. It's all the same. So the earth is you. You are the earth, and you need to get your mindset kind of around that to help the earth. And so we're showing you these resources that are earthly 3D things, but you have to realize that if you're not practicing, like Celeste was saying, if you're not expanding your consciousness in some way and opening your third eye or opening your heart chakra and seeing this universe for what it is, to give it the energy, then you're kind of defeating yourself, because you're trying to help. You're there, you're trying to do it, but you're not taking care of you either. So you have to remember that there's what we call a symbiotic relationship. That means that, you know, if you've heard this from the Bible, as below, so above, as within, so without. If you know these sayings, it's literally what's in your heart is the earth itself. That's why I showed that little child holding their hands together like this, and the earth was painted over their hand. The earth is in our hands. Literally, it's in your heart. So you have to feel that. You have to expand your consciousness and your ideology, not just, hey, we have to take care of the planet, but hey, we are the planet, right? I am the planet. If the planet dies, I die.
You have to connect to the planet.
Yeah, you have to learn to connect to it. And they've tried to put a barrier to keep you from doing that. They want to make everything a city, and they want to make everybody, like Celeste was saying, wearing shoes that don't allow you to connect in any way. So they want you disconnected from the earth. And we have to reconnect to the earth. And that's why, we say returning to the old ways. You have to reconnect to the earth. And how do you do that? Well, you're by cultivating the earth. Small ways like making yourself a little garden, starting to learn that stuff, reading these resources that we're showing you on the screen. That stuff will change the way you see the reality around you. And that is and that education that you will learn from these different resources can help you to teach other people as well. And like Willie said when he was here earlier on screen, if everybody starts being a little bit more nicer to each other, and then what was he saying? I reiterated that it becomes contagious, and I do it, and then you do it, and then someone else does it, and people, you don't know who sees you when you're doing these selfless acts, and it's just small things, but you have to take care of yourself too. And this is what Celeste has been talking about, and everybody for the last 25 minutes.
It always comes back to yourself. No matter how you look at things, it always ends up coming back to yourself. It's always up to you what you decide, what you do. Others won't help you. They can't actually help you. My journey is not Leonard's journey, it's not Celeste's journey.
Right.
They can advise me, they can tell me stuff. Still comes back to me and what I do with my life, how I live my life. In the end, it always comes back to you.
Yep.
You can get all the advice, all the stuff, everyone can tell you whatever they want to, comes back to me. I have to make the choice to gain ground, to respect nature, to live in nature, to heal myself. Everything again comes back to myself. Personal responsibility. It's a big thing. Now the modern world doesn't want to hear it, but personal responsibility is still a big thing. It comes back to me. Everything comes back to me. I make a decision in the morning to be nice to people. It's one of my favorite things
about the law of attraction.
Yeah. Exactly. And another thing is what you fear, you attract.
React. Yep. Exactly.
That's the bad one. All the fears in the world you can have, but you can attract all that fears. And it's a difficult lesson for myself to learn, is that what you fear, you attract. But as you say, that's the law of attraction. And that's another thing. If you understand the universal laws, you make life very easy for yourself. How many are there? 7. I think it's 7 universal laws. When you understand those laws and you live by those laws, life actually becomes a lot easier.
I mean, it's cheesy, but The Secret, I still think The Secret and the other movie they did called The 7 Keys to Life. I mean, they're cheesy and a little hokey to watch, but they have such an important message. I mean, The Secret, I think I watched that, like in 2013 on YouTube, and it really, my life immediately as soon as I started doing that. And it wasn't an easy road, because when you start realizing that, when you learn that when you change your energy, you can attract all these good things to you, you suddenly have to accept responsibility for the fact that all the bad shit that happened to you, you brought it on yourself. And a lot of people have a very hard time with that. They're like, but I was little, but I didn't know, but this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It was still the frequency. And it's like, it sucks. Yeah, you grew up in a rough home or whatever. Yeah. And that was a frequency you grew up in, so you didn't know any better. That's why you kept attracting it to you. And you have to get to a point where it's like, well, then that's where I say it's important to forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know. Because you didn't know better. So you just have to forgive yourself for that. Don't carry that trauma with you.
No, I agree fully with what you're saying, but we all sign soul contracts. We all agree to the life we're having at the moment. Every single human made that choice.
You picked it to transcend it.
We signed that soul. I had the fucking worst lawyer possible to sign that soul agreement. Next round, I'm getting the other one.
Billy,
Right?
lots of different ones come the next
I
one.
can talk to you
Right?
about this. I need to do some paperwork to change some
Yeah,
things
hold on
around.
a second. I gotta have my lawyer check this. I want to go back
next.
to what
Yeah,
Celeste was saying about The Secret. When The Secret came out, really quickly, and then Cassie, you can go. When The Secret came out, I was sitting there and they were talking about it on a talk show. And so I looked it up, and my brother was sitting next to me, and he was like, "What is this?" I don't know. Let's check it out. So we started watching it and listening to their concept of what it was. And my brother looks at me and he goes, "Dude, our father's been teaching us this our whole lives." And I looked at him and I went, "Yeah, he has, hasn't he?" And he's like, "Wow." And this is like some big thing that everybody is just now learning. I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Dude, he looks at me again, "Dude, our father's been teaching us this our whole lives." And he goes, "Wow, I'm going to have to rethink everything Dad ever said." And I was like, "Yeah, right?" Because it turned out that everything that they're literally saying in The Secret, like Celeste was saying in that entire series, our father was literally showing us and teaching us that every day and going through our lives. And we didn't know it. We just thought everybody's father did that, right? I knew that it wasn't because I was getting training to be a Merlin. My brother was too, but he didn't choose that, right? But he didn't know that at the time. So I understood what it was about. But I went, wow, here they are telling the world this, and this is stuff you learn on a spiritual path, right? Yeah. So that's crazy. And we were just like, wow, they're actually telling the world this, and we were being taught this our whole lives. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that I have to get going, but when I left there just for a second, I ran to the bathroom, and just real quick that I want to share. And but they had this wonderful thing in here, and it was on the shower.
Wait, hold on, I'm going to put it up on the screen.
And where I am broadcasting right now, I'm broadcasting from the Rocky Mountains from Glacier Park.
Right.
And what this says is that Glacier National Park feeds multiple watersheds that empty into the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans and the Hudson Bay. Glaciers shaped and created the park's diverse ecosystems and rugged beauty. There are only 25 glaciers remaining in the park, which are predicted to disappear by 2030. Conserve water with one step. Use your towel, again, place it on the rack. For a clean towel, place it on the floor. But then it gives you on the back, here's a few ways you can conserve water. Turn off the faucet when you're brushing your teeth. Turn off the faucet. Shorten your shower time. In the shower, they actually have a little timer that says a challenge for you to be able to put the timer over to try to challenge yourself. They said that an average shower lasts about 8 minutes. And they said, we challenge you to take a shower in 5 minutes. So they have a little timer thing that's stuck on stuck to the wall of the bathroom that you can do it over, turn it over, this little sand thing, and you can be able to save water that way. Before you do a bath, put the plug in first. Don't let the water run until you get the temperature that you want. Yeah. Put the plug in first and then start the water, and then adjust the water and then bring it that way. And then also call the front desk if there are any leaks. Oh wait, that doesn't pretend to us. Okay.
I grew up in a military family. We had a pull chain in the shower. And we got timed. You had 5 minutes. There will be no Hollywood showers. You need to learn how to take actual showers. So literally you would get in, you would turn on the water, you would get it going to where it was the right temperature, right? And then you would literally pull the button, and the water would turn off, and it would now be controlled by the pool chain. And you would get in there, you would pull the pool chain, get yourself wet, then you would soap up, let go of the pool chain, soap up, get yourself, wash yourself, then rinse off. And you had 5 minutes to do so. And at the end of 5 minutes, my stepfather would either turn the cold water off or the hot water at his discretion, and you had no idea which you were going to get, scalding hot or freezing cold. So you learned to have no Hollywood shower and conserve. And I was like, he's just mean. Why is he doing that? And he's like, let me explain to you why I'm doing this. Because, and then my father was the same way. He said, look, when you're in the military, you have to conserve water. It's not like here where you think you have free water and you can just leave it running 24 hours a day. Water is a resource that's valuable. And I like the idea of challenging people like that and saying, look, the average shower is 8 minutes. And literally in the military, they call a shower, if you leave the water running constantly, they call that a Hollywood shower. because only in Hollywood do they leave the water running and have sex in the shower with the water running all the time. In the military, you just don't do that. You don't have that much water to be doing that, because water is a resource just like any other resource, and it costs a lot of money. So you conserve water as much as you can. And if you guys don't, if you have any questions about that, read the book Dune or the sagas of Dune, or watch the movie Dune, and you'll realize that some people don't have water. I lived in the desert, in the Sedona Desert of Arizona. All the water we got for the entire year happened during the monsoon season, and we had to collect 100% of the water. I came back to the state of California, where they just let the water willy-nilly run out to the ocean 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the year. And I came back here going, oh my God, these people are wasting decaliters, millions of decaliters of water that could feed the rest of the nation. And they're just letting it go out to the ocean all the time.
Right. Well, and I think
I would say you can help with your toilet tanks. Put a 2-liter bottle of water in your toilet tank. And it'll reduce the amount of water that you need to flush it. It'll make your toilet into a water efficient toilet.
Yep.
It'll take out some of the water from there, so you're not using as much every time you flush.
Liters every time you flush a toilit, or every time you have a bath, it's like 30 liters. I was like, wow.
Right.
That was my grandfather's big thing.
These simple little things, these little things that you can do, like the water bottle, like turning the faucet off when you're brushing your teeth. Don't let it run. When you're filling up a tub, don't let it get to the water. Let it all go down until it gets to the temperature that you want. Plug it first and do that. Simple little things. And two, about keeping our national parks, in the U.S. clean, and being able to, look at it, talking about that these glaciers are going to be gone by 2030 is what they're, expecting. And this is a national or international treasure, these Rocky Mountains and these glaciers that I grew up in all my life. And I swam in these lakes all of my entire life. My brother's ashes are spread all throughout different lakes in all where we grew up. And but again, I just wanted to really bring that up before I went, that about protecting our parks, our environment, and just being able to, it was like, oh, beautiful, I'll just come on and say those couple little things that are little things that you can do, that if you're just even hearing this and you remember and you're like, oh, I remember they said to shut off that water, you're already making a difference. Just like all of us have been talking about, the smallest little things, and each of us doing just small little things start to build up, and it does become a beautiful, cascade of positive things, and of other people seeing other people doing these things and spreading the word. So I just wanted to say thank you guys for a beautiful show, and that I do need to go because we've got more plans.
We're all getting ready to go. We're all getting ready to go right now. But I put that up on the screen. You guys can see that was Peter from Ireland, who was also supposed to be on the show, our brother Peter, but he couldn't log in, and his internet was on and off. We thought Peter from South Africa was going to have an issue. He said he might. He didn't, but Peter from Ireland did, so he never got to come on the show. So I wanted to say, Peter, we love you, brother. It's okay. We'll figure it out, but we'll get the timing right, and we'll get you on the air at different times. Otherwise, other times he's just fine and he comes on. But then Peter from South Africa, he has issues, and today he did not. And the other Peter did. That's hilarious. So Peter, we love you, brother. It's okay.
You could be able to make it with that monsoon season down there. I'm glad you could make it.
Yes,
but I want to say, Peter the Viking, I've seen some of his stuff he's done with Leonard. He's actually brilliant. That behind the behind the Celtic curtain thing, Leonard and
yeah, and then he freezes on us. He's talking about Peter. He's talking about Peter Boyle from Ireland. He. If you guys don't know who he is, this is what Peter, who froze now, was referring to. That Peter from Ireland, who didn't get to come on. He was he's an actor, and he was on the TV series Vikings. He was on there. He was in almost every scene. He was in that. He was on that show from beginning to end, and he had dual parts. He had a big part in the show, but they didn't really focus on him as much as they were going to. And when
I love that show.
Yeah, he was actually on there. He was always there in every shot. Whenever Ragnar was there, he was one of the Vikings next to him. Whenever the Queen Agartha was there, he was next to her on the throne. He was one of the people that was in every shot.
It's a trip. It's rewatching it,
and you don't know it until you watch
like,
the series. And then when you watch the series, yeah, Peter dropped. And then when you watch the series, you go, "Oh my God, that's Pete." Right, and he also did, and this is what Peter from South Africa was just talking about. That Peter Coyle from Ireland, he and I have done talks where we're talking about behind the veil and behind the Celts, and showing the spiritualism that is very Native American-like, Native American-esque, that has to do with returning to the old ways, that Celtic spirituality that's out there in the world. That the Celts, and that name Celts or Celtic actually comes from the Greek word Keltoi, which means those people who live up north who are not Greek, literally. And it was a concept, and that's what they called them. We don't know what they called themselves because they never told anyone. So we call them the Celts. That's part of my name. I go by Kelto, which I use the hard K because when I put the C up there, it drives me nuts because I am Irish. And the Irish language, the Gaelic language, you would say Celt with that C, but the Scottish Gaelic language that the Scots speak, they would say Celtic. And it drives us nuts because we know that the word comes from the Greek word, which was a hard C, which was a Celt, and Keltoi, not with a K, but with a C. So they're saying it wrong, and it drives us crazy, and they say we say it wrong, but we're saying it from the original Greek. So I use the term, that's part of my name. If you look at my Facebook, you'll see literally a Kelto Stormcrow. And I get the Kelto from the Celtic name. And that's what, but I use the K because everybody would say Celtic and drove me crazy. So I changed it. But he did this series. You can go and find it on his TikTok and things. And if not, go to his page where he talks about that and teaches about that. He's like the scholar on European spirituality from the Irish, the Scottish, the English, and the Welsh. He knows even more than I do, and I've spent a lot of my life learning that. But Peter knows all of that, and that's what Peter right now, who just died on us, was referring to. Was Peter Crowley's brilliant man.
Genius.
It's too bad that he couldn't come on today because you would have heard a lot about that. He would have interjected with a lot about that, returning to the old ways. He is a druid. I have a Merlin title, and he also does. He doesn't brag about it. He spent his life learning about all religions in the Druid way and the Wiccan way, old school from Europe, and he lives there. He lives in Ireland, so he's on the ground there. You know, I'm in America still trying to learn it, and I've been learning it my whole life. And there's just a difference between the environment there and the environment here. Going back to what Celeste was saying and what Cassie was saying about the separation of the earth. I live in a modern America where they've really tried to separate us from the earth. And back in Ireland, they're still a little bit more in touch with the earth than the people over here in America are, and in other places around the world. So it's important, right? And then I'll shut up and let everybody else speak before we go. Important that we learn that, get back to that, and feel the earth. We call that in this industry, we call that the quickening. And that's when you start to feel with your body the actual planet itself. It actually raises your energy level, and you start becoming in tune with that. We call that the quickening. And we don't say that enough. You very rarely hear anyone say that, but we call it that, and we say we have to teach that. We need to get people to learn that. And now I'll shut up and let's go around the horn because I know everybody needs to go. So let's go to Ryan. Now I'm just right, this way. So we'll go straight to Celeste. Celeste, give them who you are, where they can find you, and final words for the day on Earth Day, and then we'll literally go to Cassie, and then we'll go to Jacqueline, and then we'll end the show. Okay, so Celeste, take it away. Tell them where they can find you and message for Earth Day.
You can find me at the Witches Tower on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and yeah, if you join me over there, I do run an online coven, though I do keep that. It's more of like on my friend's profile and stuff like that. But besides that, yeah, no, I don't know what else to say. I've added a lot here today. I just say just get out there, ground, connect, and reconnect to where you get your food and where you get all your stuff from. That'll help you reconnect more with the earth. And blessed be everybody who walks these weird and winding paths with me.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, I'm just happy to be here for another Earth Day and to be able to share the love and the light and all of us be able to share some information. And and on a lot of different topics, and then so it was really great being able to, I'm glad that my nephew was able to come and really, I'm so proud of him. I think he did a fantastic job. And, especially with all the rest of the kids that, were crying like, oh, he was still like, yep, I'm there. And I'm like, right on, bud. And I made sure that we stepped out there to really give him a big, props. I really did. And I was like, I told him all of you guys really appreciated him and, his advice, his opinions, his thoughts on things. And, let's make every day Earth Day. And Earth Day isn't just about taking care of our planet, it's about taking care of each other, taking care of our own selves, taking care of each other, being able to share that information. And, I'm just on Facebook as Cassie Mackler. If you want any help or questions, I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers, but I can at least point you in a direction if I don't know what to, it's not my speciality, but I'm just happy to be here. And I'm so glad that we finally did, that Earth Day came. We were so excited about it coming up. And so, thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Jacqueline.
Greetings, friends. I'm so grateful to be here. My name is Jacqueline, and you can find me on any social media. I'm everywhere, Divine JT or Jacqueline Taylor, and tune into your own true nature. I'm excited for the Global Ambassadors. We'll be having December 21st, 22nd, 2023 to bring a global peace movement to the entire known galaxies, especially this one. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in, tapped in, and really want to connect back to Mother Earth, Gaia, Terra, Planet 606, however you perceive it, and just being present with yourself and truly just coming to that radical acceptance and love. Because when you have unconditional love for oneself, it radiates to everything and everyone else around us, including the planets, this planet we walk on, and every known universe. And really, truly, just be true to you. Because that's the only thing that's going to matter in this lifetime is when you tune and are true to you, that directional path will be taken care of and provided for in every single length, even the things that you could imagine or could even not even comprehend is possible. And just, I know through my own experience that I'm so blessed to meet my family of light and just be present with you guys. Because that is truly the gift, is to be free from all of this processing and programming and just truly be. So thanks, everyone. Thanks, Leo, for hosting. Thanks, Willie, for showing up. Thanks, everybody. I love you all so much. Celeste, Pete.
I know. Yes. I threw the chant in the background for.
I heard it, and it was like,
right? Right. I know. I just got it. It's Gregorian. I know some people would be like, "Oh, what? They're Christian," but they're very spiritual. I wanted to throw that up there, and I want to leave you guys with this picture, right? Because the song is Requiem, and it's literally about singing to God and professing your love to the universe itself and opening your third eye. That's literally what they're saying to you in Latin right now. It's old school. It's old world. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everybody being here. You guys all have a great day. Have a great Earth Day and make every day Earth Day.
Every day Earth Day.
Every day.
All right, guys. Love you.
All.
Have a great day.
Bye.